Up, gamers? It is I, the people. A long nap, it seems like, coming off of that Halloween came up with holidays and people and everything going on, and my PS4 not cooperating with me. And now I feel and I could just not go back to the 4 probably. And I love the system. I'm so happy to have one. I hate to say this, but I cried a little bit because I just thought I would never get one. And it's just great to have it now. And I'm so happy to have it. And I'm so happy now to be back doing some videos with you. I tried to do a couple a few days ago, but it just didn't work out because they're the way they do broadcast setting. But thankfully, Post-Human Guy, my man John, helped me out with that, and we fixed that. And I still just some other stuff had been going on, and I just did not have the opportunity to do what I wanted to do. And I'm going to make those videos that I promised you all and try to get this stuff going a lot more this year. And do more because I just do enjoy this. I love being part of the Unpaid Gamers Network. And speaking, the administrator and the undertaker of the Unpaid Gamers, Post-Human Guy himself, Mr. John, welcome back to the Gaming Roundtable here, Table Talk, Episode 1.
Hey, what's up? What's up? You know, you talk about ending that spectacular or not doing videos. Let's count it. So you finished up in the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
So November, December, January, February. We're now in March. You're in your 5th month.
I know, it's terrible. It's terrible. I haven't done anything. And that's...
You know, I've been holding down the fort as much as I can. Although, I got into some lengthy games and, you know, I kind of stopped streaming and I didn't do any car thoughts or anything for a little bit now. So, you know, I don't know. If I'm playing, because the way I have to play things now, I stick to like one major game and then just play it till I'm done. So I don't really feel the need to just stream the same game over and over and over.
Okay.
So, unless I'm doing like a playthrough. But like the open world stuff, I don't like doing playthroughs of those. So I just like doing my own pace and doing that kind of stuff. So that's the reason for my much shorter laps lately. But either way, we're both back here.
Which is good. And again, I took that long kind of sabbatical, and again, like my PS4 has not been the greatest. I mean, it was going on its 9th year, and so it's been a great piece of hardware, but going into the PS5. We were just before we went on the air, we were talking about its interface, and it's the one thing I think that the one criticism I have with this system is its UI. I think the UI is, I wouldn't say clunky per se, but I feel like I don't know, what would be a good way to describe it? Like, I mean...
I think parts of it are lacking, and I think the parts that aren't lacking are kind of convoluted.
Yeah,
You know, like, because when it first came out, and it hasn't really changed a whole lot. Like, it's very clean, and that's cool. I think, can you do folders now?
No, you still can't.
Yeah.
No folders.
So, you know, there's that, which is kind of weird. I guess.
And no themes, and that just kills me. No themes.
Yeah, no themes, and I'm kind of okay with that for the most part, because, you know, when those... Like every game kind of has a splash page now, so it's always kind of changing. And I like the themes, but I also found like I would get tired of it, and I would have to looking around and try to find something to replace it. And now I don't have that issue anymore. It's just I don't have to think about it. So, and that's me. I mean, that's kind of a dumb reason, but I'm kind of okay with that. The PlayStation Store, though, for a long time, and I think it's still the case, there were some omissions to it. Some things that would show up in the web store and the app or on the PS4 store is not on here.
That's true. Yeah, that's still a thing. Yeah.
And I hate really kind of the way the layout of the store and the PS Plus stuff is. You know, I've done car thoughts on how I don't like the whole premium, extra, essential PS Plus stuff.
Yes.
And I just hate like how they're trying to kind of push it and sell. And it's just it's not very intuitive. I think it's dumb. So.
No, I agree with you, and I know that they should have just done Sony Game Pass, right? PlayStation Game Pass, and just do it exactly how Microsoft does it, and just did that. Yeah, $10 a month. There you go.
It's a winner. It's
and
a great system.
And people, I know that they'll take a game and remove one or two here and there, then add two here. But, it's almost like it's no much different than like, Netflix or something that, movies are on there for a while and then they go away and they put new ones on there. It's almost like Xbox. It's $10 a month. It's their streaming service, essentially. It's not TV. It's just video games. And I don't know why Sony was like, we got to have all these different tiers and different things. I'm like, that's all well and good. But at the same time, it's like, you just done exactly what Microsoft done and just did it that way. And I think you'd have a lot more people signing up, because I look at the games that are on there and I'm like, I would love to go back and play this or go back and play that or go back and play this. But it's like, am I really going to do that for one? And do I want to spend the extra tiered money to have whatever game I would like to play, from 20 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever? And I'm like, at half the time, I'm like, no, I'll probably just not do that. So it's like,
well, and most of the stuff that's really on there for the higher tiers, like if you kind of collected games throughout its lifespan and shit like that, like, you probably have them anyway.
Yeah, on my PS4,
there's no incentive for that at all. I just hate how it's integrated so heavily into everything, because oftentimes it tricks me too. And I'm not so anymore, because I know like how it's laid out now. But for a while, because they call both the PS5 upgrade an upgrade, and then they also call the higher tiers of PS Plus an upgrade.
Yes,
so you'll see like upgrade over to the side of something. I'm like, oh, is there a PS5 version of that available? And I'll click it, and it's like want me to buy the stupid higher tier.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's fucking stupid. And there's also some games that are locked behind that too.
Yes. I've seen that, and I think that's an oversight on their part. And if the only real reason for them to do it this way and not just do what Microsoft did was so they get no flack for, you just copied them. Like, well, who cares? I mean, really.
I think that's why they made it different. But that's the thing. Like, why? Because the Game Pass is so good, and there's so many kills. Some games launches that way, but
it helps. But
up to now, it's been a great system. And there's some games like I know for a fact day one I'm going to buy. I want to play it. I want to have it in my collection. There's other games that comes on Game Pass. So if I really want to try it, that's a perfect opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and it's almost like having limitless demos, right? And so like you're like, hey, you know what? That game looked really cool, and I'm going to check it out. And then you play it. You're like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't spend my money on that. So because I got to try it. Yeah. So it's like that's always good.
And the Game Pass is shareable too, by the way, to a certain extent. Like I don't think you're supposed to really.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like how the PS library works. So, I have a Series X. My son Nick has the S.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I got him an S for like his birthday one year, and I didn't have to buy games or really get him in this whole new thing, do all that stuff. I just got him Game Pass. So
perfect. Yeah.
He had that in Game Pass, and I'll just kind of pay for it every month for him. Add along with everything else, whatever.
Yeah.
So on my Series X though, I added his account.
Yeah.
And because I added his account on there, I can use Game Pass under my account. Like, with his membership. So
okay.
So I'm paying for it for him,
yeah.
And he uses it and stuff. But I can also download stuff because he has it and it's added onto my Xbox. So
see that's cool.
You can do that if you have family or multiple systems or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody didn't know that, it's a cool trick.
Well, I will say this, outside of the UI and the PlayStation, the way they're doing the Plus, one of the things that I will give the system a lot of props for is, and didn't even realize it until a few days after I downloaded, some games and upgraded PS4 stuff. I absolutely love when you played a game and you turn it off, and a couple days later it just says resume activity, and I hit resume, and it was like right into the game. Oh, well, shit, there I am. Great. I love some of the hardware that can push that to be able to do that. I love that. I love all the performance options. And And I know at first I couldn't figure that out, and you kind of straightened me out on that. And then I figured out, okay, and just not really looking at it because I'm not used to seeing those options, right? So it's like there they are. And some of the games, I hate to say it, they're kind of buried in the options. You're like, where's that at again? And you'll find it. And I like that. As a matter of fact, I was very surprised. I had bought Monster Hunter Rise on here because it's on 4 and 5, and on the PS5 version, and after the exclusivity for 2 years on the Switch, because it was built for the Switch, and then it came on here, they give you the PC options. Like, you get this list of stuff, of volumetric lighting, all this stuff. I'm like, oh, they gave me the dang on PC options. That's incredible, and I've not seen that to that extent yet. So I was like, that's the first game I've seen that do that I own, and I thought that was cool. So there are a lot of and I love, and again, what probably my favorite thing about the whole system is just the nearly no load times on anything. In some games, not at all. It just goes boom. Okay.
Drives are game changers,
Yeah.
Plus the Series X, the PS5, the PC World, all that stuff, and yeah, the interface I think sucks. I think the interface on Xbox is slightly better, but I still got complaints about it. It kind of sucks too.
Yeah.
In certain areas, but all of that, it's like just a kind of a means to an end, right? Like, it's not that big of a deal. You get the hang of its quirkiness, and you launch your game, and then you're good. And there's definitely some great features with these newer systems. Especially if anybody hasn't dived into that yet. But and that's what I was trying to talk about, the performance modes and stuff like that. Is it's different for every game. Some games can do ray tracing and other things. Some games really focus on like a certain resolution and 60 frames a second. Some mixes both. Some of them go way high on either spectrum. God of War Ragnarok is one of those. There's like 6 different modes for it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I started off doing fidelity mode just because I wanted to kind of see that ultra high resolution on most games, and almost always now I go to performance.
Me too. That's funny you say that. That's so funny you say that.
So
I had my first real PS5 game I bought that was not a PS4 upgrade was Steel Rising, and that's made by Spiders, and you know how much I love that company. They're just so good, and that was the first honest to God PS5 game I bought, and it was the first time I went into the options and saw like, oh, there's your graphics, your performance, and I tried, and there was 3 different modes, and I tried all 3. The interesting thing about the performance mode, like graphically, it was still gorgeous. Like, it was still good looking. There wasn't a huge difference between quality, like graphic mode, and the but the performance mode, when I was playing it, I just was like, God, it's so nice to have that frame rate and have that smoothness, and especially a game like that, because it's a Dark Souls-like game, so you're like, I need that frames. I need that to play that game, and that game is beautiful.
Yeah, and some games are more beneficial than others, and one thing specifically, and I talked about this in a Car Thoughts and on one of these videos, I'm pretty sure, but was Gotham Knights came out, and everybody freaked out, made a big deal because it's capped at 30 frames a second. There's some very technical reasons for that. Really the biggest one, other than just, I don't know, the optimization's debatable, who knows, right? But their explanation given was that co-op is ingrained throughout the whole thing.
Yes.
And it's like tether free. So,
yes. You can go in one part of the city and
to be that way.
Yeah.
So that's where you sacrifice that, and everybody freaked out. And look, like 60 frames is awesome, but games have been 30 frames for freaking ever.
Yeah.
Other than like, Super NES and stuff. Some of them were hitting 60 frames way back then, but like, it's a whole different world when you get into 3D and all that shit. Like,
I mean, like, one of the only games
that is not a deal breaker.
No, it isn't. And I tell you, one of the only games way back in the day, and you turned me on to it. I absolutely loved the game. It was 60 frames, and ID's fucking Rage. And Rage was 60. And it felt weird at first to play that, and then, because I was like, this is weird. But I fell in love with that game. And interesting enough, I decided to download Rage 2, And Rage 2 was already at 60 frames on the PS4. It's just because it's ID. ID just knows how to optimize so well. And so there's no graphical option.
Carmack's big push on Rage.
Yeah.
That was really what he wanted to have because he was, he developed that whole way of rendering super large spaces with minimal textures and like, it was, I kind of forget some of that explanation now, but because of what he did, there wasn't much to really bog it down and you could get a high frame rate. And he was like, talking about how smooth and like how fun it makes much more fun it makes the combat and stuff like that.
And that's a game that we won't get deep into that game, but like that's a game that I absolutely fell in love with, and yeah, it is. And then they made a lot of people were upset. They were like, you beat the game, and then you're done. You can't keep playing it, even though it's this open world and stuff. And it's like the expansion that they put out for like $6, the Scorchers. That actually put in the ability to continue to play after the fact, and that randomly generated like content, and it was like kind of how Skyrim does. So it was like that game has such long legs after the fact. I love it. Now, it didn't sell as well. I know that it didn't sell as well. It was still good, but it was, and that's why I was so surprised when 2 came out. I was like, they're making a 2? Really? I have to get on that. And I bought 2 and found out that ID made like the shooter portions, and the convoys and the driving was made by Avalanche, who made the Mad Max game, another game that didn't sell well but is an amazing open world game. And Rage 2, good, bad, or indifferent, people just didn't gravitate towards it either. That's still another solid piece of work by them. And again, it's like, I ain't no love for that series, man. And it's just like, it kind of breaks my heart a little bit. I love Rage.
Well, I probably didn't play Rage 2 as much as I should have. Really?
Oh, it's excellent. It's excellent. But I mean, there's New Game Plus. You can play it. You can just keep playing it after the fact. It's got a lot of legs to it.
I know I didn't beat it. I don't really remember so much me doing a whole lot with it, really.
Yeah. But that's kind of like I said. But like the 60 frame thing, and it's neat to be like. Okay, so let's talk a little bit, because I got to get into this. I've got to get into this because your recommendation to me, and you've made so many recommendations to me over the years for games that I end up. You have great taste, and it's like I know. Well, I do. You got me in the Fallout. Just buy it, play it, yeah. But you got me in the Far Cry. I know you're not. That's not really your flavor anymore, and I love Far Cry. But you kind of recommended Gotham Knights to me and told me what to expect. So I was like, and then Desiree, again, fantastic. She finds it, brand new, unopened from Amazon for $35. So that was including shipping and everything with her Prime. So I got it a couple days later. And I want to get into Gotham Knights for a few reasons. And I want to say this, watching all the ones, the worst games, most disappointing games of last year, from Angry Joe to Pro Jared to that game was like on everybody's list. And I was like for worst game and stuff. And I am at the very end of the game right now, the very end. And I was like, I played that game nonstop. That game is so fucking good, and I cannot believe that people hated it. And I understand the thinking behind it. Okay, this is not Rocksteady, but it's WB Montreal, and I get that it didn't have the cool Arkham series countering thing, and they replaced it with List. And the fact that they said, well, it's very repetitive. Well, it does state it's an action RPG, essentially. And so most of those games are like that. Wash, rinse, repeat, go to this dungeon, go do this, go do that, go do this. But that game's soundtrack, story, I absolutely loved the voice acting all the way around. I loved, gosh, the first time I got the Bat Cycle and jump on that thing and just to hear it go, whoa, I mean, even my fiance's like, man, that sounds like you're going like, she wasn't even watching it. That sounds like you're going fast. And that weird kind of chase kind of music they play, and I'm like tilting the camera and I'm just rolling. It made me feel like the Batman scene on the Cycle when he's chasing the Joker, and I'm like, this game just feels good for a superhero game. I absolutely loved how all four characters.
quick fact, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the voice acting. Now, you may not have ever seen this, but now I love reality competition shows. So
Okay.
I love Survivor. I'm a huge Survivor, not a huge Survivor, but I've watched it since the first season. I've been
Yeah.
watching Survivor for like 23 years or whatever.
Yeah, it's been on forever. I mean, pretty much.
So I've watched every season. So I love that type of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
there was only did one season of it. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Who Done It,
Okay.
and these players, they go in this. There's a reason for this. I'm telling you. So they go into this mansion. These players, and
Was it like
every
Clue?
episode, kind of. There's like a staged murder, and it's
Okay.
halfway theatrical crap and halfway reality kind of stuff. So it's like this big
Tracking.
elaborate stage murder that happens, and then
Okay.
the other players have to figure out how that person died.
Okay.
And the whole time they're trying to guess the killer. So
Okay.
every episode, the player that is the worst at guessing what happened, how the murder went down, really,
Yeah.
they get murdered themselves the next episode.
Okay.
So
That's interesting.
So my reason for mentioning this is the host of it is this butler. I forget his name now, but I didn't know, but he voiced Alfred in that Gotham Knights game.
Oh no shit! Wow, that's cool.
And I
That's
didn't
really
know
neat. That's really neat.
because we just me and Jacqueline watched that series. I went back and rewatched it with her because I was telling her about it.
Okay.
And
that's neat.
And I was just looking up because I was like, his voice sounds familiar, and I'm looking up and like seeing if he's been in other stuff, and then I seen Gotham Knights, and he was
Alfred.
the voice of Alfred.
That's neat.
That's
really neat.
A funny little thing. So.
No, that's cool. He played a butler in a show, and he's playing basically a butler, and Gotham. The thing about that was, listening wholeheartedly to these most disappointing worst game, and that was on there. I just kept saying, I'd play in the game. I'm like, how did anybody just hated this? And again, I think part of the problem with it was, Arkham Knight, Gotham Knights. People are going to assume it plays like that. And I had bothered to download Gotham Knights because I have Arkham Knight again, and I have everything for the entire game, everything for it. And I was playing Gotham Knights, and then the next day I'm playing Arkham Knight, and I play Gotham Knights, and I play Arkham Knight, just playing as Batman. And I was like, playing as Batgirl, you unlock the traversal stuff early, and she plays the most like Batman, right? She's got the glide, I was like, Nightwing has got the cool like glider, and I kept saying, what's weird about this is everybody really shit on Marvel's Avengers, which we'll get into that in a minute too, because I got to at least say something about that. Marvel's Avengers, people hated the fact they had this loot, but didn't change your character's appearance, and it had this, and it didn't do this, and it had all this stuff outside of just the microtransactions. And Gotham Knights kind of does everything they wanted Marvel Avengers to do, right? You have your different suits you could craft, you could put together the mods and fuse them together to make your character really powerful. You can just do all this cool stuff and then change the cowl and change the different things to kind of really make the character your own and its appearance. And that was so cool. And I was like, that's what people kind of wanted in Avengers. And it's like playing Knights. I always still feel like Knights was like DC kind of answer to the Marvel Avengers game. There are similarities. They play different, but there's similarities. And playing Gotham Knights, I'm like, this is everything everybody I think wanted Avengers to be. And I just getting on the motorcycle and just jetting across the bridge. And I know I'm going to go here, and then jumping off and in the air, and then, and just the aerial attacks and getting used to the dodge mechanic. And yes, I know it's the substitute for the counter mechanic. The dodge mechanics is identical to the Lord of the Rings Shadow of War, except that game still has the counter system because they basically just borrowed it. And it's like, weirdly enough, I still don't understand. The game graphically is great. The story is really interesting. I love playing through the various clues. I love doing the little side stuff where you're like, oh, there's a body, find the clues, this leads you over here. You did some detective work. You did exploration. You there's so much about the game, especially in the late game when Lucius Fox shows up and this guy shows up and the Watch people show up, and it's like there's this. It's just Gotham is both large, but it's not overtly huge, where you just feel like you're playing like a Far Cry or an Assassin's Creed, and you got like a continent's worth of shit to do. It's the right size. It's got all this verticality. I even like the little, missions where you like, oh, I got to glide through little rings and unlock stuff and the little side stuff you do. I like all the little nuances of the game, and I love how every character feels and plays differently. Jason Todd, I love the fact that he's like brutal. It's like playing the Punisher. He's got the guns and all this stuff, but then you switch over to Robin. He's very stealthy. You can like jump down and zip somebody up, and it's like, then you could switch right over to Nightwing. It just, everybody feels different in the way you approach stuff. And
where did you say you were at?
I'm right at the end. I'm right at the end. And I love all the costumes and the transmog stuff. I just, everything about that game, to me, and I know it's on everybody's worst game list, and I still don't understand why, because it is so good. Yeah. It is one of my, and I hate to say this, I have a list of like just favorite games, and Desiree's always making fun because she's like, you have your top 10 favorite games, but it's always like changing. Are you more like top 100? But for superhero games, and I've played all of them, or at least all the good ones, right, and bad ones, it's like Gotham Knights to me, man. I mean, I love that game. That game made me feel like I'm a vigilante superhero, and I'm on the cycle, and I hear that music chase, and I'm going, I'm like, this is, and all I kept thinking, I hate to say this, but it's like, it had no microtransactions, it had none of the BS that's in games today. It was a straightforward action RPG, 30, 40 hours. I maxed out my characters. You play New Game Plus, you could gain to level 40. Once you get in the New Game Plus, you can gain more levels, and it's like, I don't know. I just
co-op the whole way.
Yeah, and it's so great. And I'm like, and I still don't understand the hate for the game so much. And I don't know what. And again, I still think the expectation was it was going to be just like the Arkham series games. Yeah, and you got Rocksteady making them, and WB making,
And and some of my takes on some of those things are a little bit different. But I've talked about it on car thoughts and stuff, and I've given my take, but I'll kind of quickly re-summarize since you played it now. You asked me what I thought about it, because like you say, it's on everybody's top hated things, and I'm like, dude, don't pay attention. Trust me, like it's gonna be good. You just have to know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really the main thing. So, it's the hype train that everybody gets on, where it becomes the thing to trash a game. And it's like if something isn't quite exactly the way that people expect, then they're going to shit all over and keep shitting all over it, and then review bomb it, and it's just going to become the cool thing to do is to shit on the game.
Yeah.
And so that's one problem. The other problem is people don't research stuff properly. So knowing that it's WB Montreal and not Rocksteady, for one.
Yes.
We kind of clue you in on there's a little bit of a difference there.
Mm-hmm.
And the only Batman game they've done, WB Montreal, is the
is it Origins?
Which was it? Yeah, Origins.
Mm-hmm. And people hate that game. People hate that game.
Yeah.
And just real quick, and then you can continue. People hated Origins, even though it played absolutely 100% no different in any way, shape, or form from Arkham City. It's the same fucking game. It's just made by us. It's kind of like Obsidian making Fallout New Vegas. It's pretty much the same game, and there's just slight nuances and difference. And Origins is my favorite game in the Arkham series. I fucking love Origins. Love Origins.
So there's that. So people still, I think it's a Rocksteady game half the time when I see people talk about it. Because they talk about, I don't know how they could do this after the other Arkham game. I'm like, what's a different company,
Yeah, totally.
And then, of course, the whole not 60 frames a second thing came out. They announced that it was only 30 frames a second, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So then it really became more ammunition for people to hate on it. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I stood up then and I said, look, like, okay, it's one thing if you don't feel this way, but you really, or if you feel this way, but you can't fault them because they've told you before it came out. Like, there's
Yeah.
no bait and switch here. They're telling you exactly what to expect.
Yes.
Don't go in expecting to be super silky smooth 60 frames a
Yeah.
second because that's all the rage now. This is what it runs at. Like, you know beforehand. Don't buy it if you're gonna have if it's a deal breaker for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
you know, so fast forward. You know, I get the game. I'm immediately like, oh man, this combat is not Arkham. That's a bummer.
mm-hmm.
I'm like, what? What am I like? Why would they get rid of that? You know, and I'm dodging, and I'm like, like it just don't feel right.
Yeah.
So now I get on the bike. The sound's pretty cool. I see the little graphics that, like the effect, you know, those lines, like it looks like you're going fast immediately.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That bike is like wow. Yeah.
And but I get on there and I see that and I'm like, it's kind of underwhelming to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, coming from so many games where you're getting vehicles and it feels good to drive and you're going fast. Like this feels, for me, it felt like they were adding the graphic effect to give you a sense of speed, but you're not really going that fast. And like,
Yeah.
whatever, you know. So I played a little bit and I got off. And I'm like, I don't know if I like this game. Like maybe it does suck, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was kind of jerky. It was, you know, I think the optimization could be better because there were some times where I was kind of jumping around and like it obviously kind of dipping a little low on some of that stuff. And so the next day I go back to it. And I'm like, okay, there's got to be a game to love in here. Like they spent all this time making it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna play it until I like it, kind of thing. But I really just at that point just decided to drop all those preconceived notions that I had for the game and
Yes.
just play it for what it is and see what happens.
Okay.
Just give it a little bit of time. And it really, really grew on me a lot after that.
Yeah.
And you know, and I got to really enjoy riding around on that bike after a while. You know, I'm
Well,
not
I
a
don't.
big fan of the other. I think it's cool that you can switch between all four. Like it's super cool.
Yeah.
I like how they're all different. Um, I tried them all out, and I just really preferred playing as Batgirl. So I played the whole game as Batgirl,
Yes.
and didn't switch around so much because I just like the play style, and that's
Well,
what made me happy
it's the
playing.
closest
So,
to Batman in the Arkham, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I love the storyline of Batman being gone and them trying
Yeah.
to find a way to continue on and all that stuff. And as I
Yeah.
got to playing it, you know, like some of those major complaints in the beginning started to kind of fade away. I think the combat would be better still if it was more like Arkham series, but whatever. It's not, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, getting into the Court of Owls storyline was awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
I love how they did that stuff. One of my favorite things about the game is how it peppers in all of the rogues gallery and stuff.
Yeah, the Penguin
Not all
shows
of them, but
up.
quite a bit.
Yeah, but most of the people in Gotham Knights is based off a comic. So it's like, you know, Joker's gone, and you know, Penguin is quote unquote legit, right? And then it's neat that they like when you play. What I like about it, one of the things that I was really surprised by, like, you know, the first thing you get in the Harley Quinn stuff, and I'm like, you know, it's neat because you're playing as this game and it's Gotham Knights and there's an overarching narrative with Talia al Ghul and Ra's al Ghul's dead for real this time and Batman's gone. But like what I like was you do the Harley Quinn, the first like big like detective thing, 5-6 missions, whatever, and you're like, it almost feels like its own game within the game because it's and playing that the Mr. Freeze and the Clayface and the tonally. It's all different.
And the Penguin
it's
shows up at a certain point.
and it's all and it's all different.
And
it's
I mean.
yeah.
I think it did such an amazing job of creating the Gotham world,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't ever feel like a lot of games will do that, and it always feels like you're kind of doing an origin story, or it feels very scripted, and this felt very natural. Like you're in the middle of this world with all this shit going on all around.
Yeah, it was cool. It was great.
And like
I
you
mean,
just kind of can just bounce around, and it makes you feel like you're battling a city because there's kind of more at certain points than what one person can handle. Like,
Oh yeah.
because you got all this side stuff, you got all these, and it's like, oh man, I'm trying to keep this city together.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what I also like was they set up where the PD had a new chief. Gordon's dead, and it's like they outlaw vigilantes, but then you'll save like a cop on one of the little side things, and he'll be like, "Hey, get on out of here. I appreciate you." It's like the civilians in the game have different comments, and I might stop on my bike and got off, and someone said, well, who's that? Another vigilante? And another guy said, hey, Nightwing, I hope you stay safe. It's just like they have comments. And I like that because the Arkham series, like in City, it's, there's not really any civilians around. In Arkham Knight, there's really not any civilians around. You just see like the random gangs and different people roaming. And this game has the civilians. I like the fact that they show how each character, how Batman's death affected them emotionally. It wasn't like they're all going like, oh, he's gone, and what do we do? No, Jason Todd felt one way about it, Robin felt one way about it, Nightwing felt one way about it, and Barbara, Batgirl. So I was like, and she's dealing not just like the death of...
He had some sour grapes.
Well, Jason Todd was killed by the Joker, in the comics, and death in the family. Yeah, so and then brought back. Yeah.
Like every cutscene, he talked about being dead. I'm like, come on, man.
But I tell you though, one of the things I will admit though, when you talked about the combat and the dodging, like I love when you get down to the last guy and some of the slow-mo kill, like slow-mo, like you knock somebody out. They're great. And like Jason Todd's are just brutal. He's all like, "Well, thanks," and because I love the interrogation stuff, and he's all like, "Thanks," boom, and he just steps on their face, and you're like, "Oh my god!" Like it just feels brutal.
One thing you didn't mention, of course, there's four characters, and they all play differently.
Yes.
But you can also do different builds on these, and
you
can play differently. Even still, you can have one Jason Todd that has these abilities and these weapons, and then you can just get these other things and do a whole different type of loadout.
Yeah, it's great.
The entire way you play them, so it's really cool.
Yeah,
I feel like it gives you a ton of freedom on making a hero in the Batman universe, like how you want to do it.
Yeah, I do, and that's great because one of the things I liked was you get to the Mr. Freeze and and I got this cryo suit, right? So I build up this stuff with these mods, and I was like, I'll save that suit. And I found myself just building suits, So I was like, oh, okay, well, these guys are using this, or I'm going up against, and I found myself with 3, 4, or 5 suits saved as loadouts, and I'm like, it's almost like Iron Man, like you're changing your armor depending on what you need, and I love that. And I tell you what,
those you can transmog to look.
Which is great. Yeah, which I love that aspect of the game. It's all the stuff that they don't even talk about. Like none of the top 10 worst games and disappointing games ever talked about any of that. Not once. And I'm like, well, how can you not talk about that?
Same complaints every time. And even and I don't think it's always really, just a fault of I don't know. Not really singling anybody out. Like one of my favorite, and I've mentioned this numerous times, the Before You Buy.
Yes, right? I like that.
I watch those, and that's really, if I pay attention to any kind of review, I pay attention to those because I like the way it's presented, and it shows me stuff and kind of leaves it to yourself to make your decision. Well, he did not like this game, Gotham Knights, at all, and he played it quite a bit and and he talked about his reasons for it, and that's all good. But usually I'm so in line with him, and like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe we played something different because, like, this is really enjoyable.
Yeah, and and the thing too about that is it was very, very difficult for me. Like when I was playing it, and I'd be playing it, and I'd put it down and go do something else, and I'd be thinking about it. I'm like, man, I got to get back into Gotham. I got to save Gotham, And I haven't been like, I'd say, that excited to be like, and as soon as I pop it in and you load in, you're in the city or whatever, wherever you left off, and I just be like, I'd get on that bike and hear that go and going quick and just, I'm going to go do this. And even just picking like the little red triangles and go take care of this. And that kept over. And I was like, oh shit, this is like shit, this organ theft going on. Jesus Christ, I got to take this heart and drive it over here. And like some of the crimes are like, what the fuck? And then I loved all that, and I found myself playing all 4 characters equally. I love the fact that one of the updates, because they only had a couple, actually lets you, like, you level up, you all level up at the same time. You didn't have to go in and grind each character's, like Marvel Avengers, you have to play every character individually to level them up. And this game's like, Batgirl gains a level, so does everybody else. And I like that.
Just the knighthood stuff, I think you got to do separately.
Yeah, you have to do that separate. And the other thing they did, the last update added reactive triggers. So when you're on the bike, it feels like, you're, and I love, and that was weird to get used to the reactive triggers, but on vehicles, that game, and you get that weight, and you're like, fuck yeah, it just feels amazing. That game is so good, and I just,
one of the big reasons I played as Batgirl the whole time is, because when she got on the bike, her cape would fly.
Yeah, fly around. Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah,
that was one of my big reasons for just sticking with her. Like, other than liking the way she plays, I just love seeing her cape. So, like, some of her suits I never would use really, like, look-wise, because I wanted that cape flapping around.
Well, and some of them are very close to, like, Batman's design, which is nice. Because anytime I use Batman, anytime I did Batgirl's suits, I always try to make sure I was always like, please tell me her gloves have like the little spikes on them, and things like that. And I played a lot as Nightwing a lot too. I just liked his crazy like acrobatics and flipping, and it was really neat, and it makes sense because it is Dick Grayson. He was an acrobat. His parents were in the circus. Everything about the characters is so interesting, and it's such an interesting game. The interactions you have throughout the game with Alfred are really neat, and the way he's just trying to help you, like mentor you, as he had done Bruce.
And you can see, like, in the cutscenes and everything, like, everybody's grieving, and the storyline and the way they present that stuff, like, it's very, very cool. There's parts of the story I think are, but whatever. I do have some complaints about the game, but overall I think it's great.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's an amazing game.
Complaints with games now, there's a lot of those systems, like with the equipment, the transmog stuff, the crafting, all this stuff, is there's a big mess of features in there, but like they really don't do a great job of presenting it or explaining it. So like it can be overwhelming at first sometimes until you really kind of dive in and figure it out. I wish some games now would start doing that a little better. And it's not like these are new systems that nobody's heard of. It's just, I don't know. It just takes a bit to kind of get your bearings. And I feel like that probably turns a lot of players off. And like
probably
games these days are all about holding your hand.
And, oh God, yes, yeah.
So like, why are we going to drop the ball on that when you can't have a mission without having a marker and telling people exactly what to do and all this stuff?
Yeah, there's no room for figuring anything out on your own. Yeah.
And one thing, one shortcoming I feel that it has, and it's not even really with this game, because the Arkham games are the same way. And I know the reason for it, but like Gotham City, it's so cool to have an open world Gotham City, right?
Yeah.
But like, I kind of don't know this spot from that spot really. Like, it all looks the same to me. You can have all these districts that this one does. I know there's little subtle differences and things like that. I know that's how Gotham City's supposed to look. There's iconic parts to it, things they include in some of these. It's very cool. But I always feel like the diversity of the city is always lacking in these Batman games. Like,
well, interestingly enough, it's like, I remember playing through the game, and I first started like when I get to the Court of Owls stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm driving over here. Well, shit, there's this graveyard, right? And I got to find the symbols. And I thought, man, this is like a very different part of Gotham. And it made me like say, I'm just going to go look at all the districts. And I go way up north. I'm like, okay, this is this is where all the money's at. Like, this is rich. You can see mansions and big brownstones. And then you can tell, but all the differences are very subtle like that. Unless you really look, unless you are looking for it, you could easily be like, well, over here and over here and over here and way over here, it's all the same. But you almost have to look for it. And I get that.
Game.
Yeah.
You know, no fault to the game at all. There's definitely some very cool things to discover. Like I love going and seeing Arkham, you know, in this part and seeing the, you know, just like a lot of those things, like the Gordon statue that you come across.
Yeah, that was neat.
The
yes.
graveyard was really cool. And again, it's just not really the universe for diversity. But you know, when you play some games like, you know, Cyberpunk, even right, like the city part Night City looks mostly the same, but you got like your deserty area, and you got
you're where the nomads.
Like a lot of open world games have a lot more variety in their areas, and I know Batman's not really that way. Like it all looks the same. Anyway, the universe just looks that way, you know.
Yeah.
But I always find that like I kind of don't care how big the city is really, because like I'm not really gonna be you know,
I mean,
much, like,
you know, and the thing about it too is I seen some people complain that Gotham, there was virtually, if not any buildings you could really enter per se. And I thought, you know what, that's dumb, because I was like, what do you expect? I'm like, heck, GTA 5 doesn't have a whole lot of buildings you can enter in. So it's like, the only game, I mean, and if you, why is Nightwing would I be walking to like a random bar for no reason? This isn't like, this is, or like, oh, there's a restaurant. Oh, excuse me, I want to run through. It just doesn't make any sense. And I tell you though, if you ever do walk the streets of Gotham and Gotham Knights, if you look at the buildings, if you look inside, like some of the windows were frosted, like they made all the interiors to give it that more realism. That game is really about being, you know, stopping crime and investigating stuff and driving around, and that's what it's about.
If you're wanting more than that, I feel like you're just wanting a different game. And I think
all the way around.
To have a Batman RPG or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But that's not what this is.
Well,
the last thing I want to say about that, I love the storyline. I love Court of Owls stuff that's in there. Because, you know, it's all like that secret society stuff in Gotham, Illuminati kind of stuff, which I love that anyway.
Yeah, I do too.
But I love it so much that I went and read through the whole Batman Court of Owls like comic series, like the whole story arc, because I wanted to know more about that, because I had never read it. And it's so cool if you actually read that after playing the game or while you're playing the game or something, because there's parts that it brings over from the comics, but like not in a copycat way. It's almost like it's a continuation.
Okay, that's cool. That's really good.
And there's and when you read through those issues and stuff, like you can see how they pay homage to so many things in the game, and like just kind of retouch on stuff. So you know, if you don't have the comics or whatever, you can find them online, like PDFs or like there's that. I think it's DC Unlimited is what it is. It's an app.
Okay.
They have like a free trial that you can do for like 7 days even, where you can just open those up on like your iPad or whatever.
Nice.
And read the digital versions of them. So definitely recommend reading through that if you like the storyline of the game.
Gotcha. Before we end talking about Gotham Knights, and I mean, I know, like I said, I've glowed about it because I just think it's a tremendous game. I mean, I don't see. I mean, yes, you could find fault with different little things here and there, but the fact that people just completely shit all over it blows my mind. I'm like, and this makes me go like, you know what? Nobody likes anything. I mean, it's like you can't please anybody. It seems like half the days. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like the idea, and all I can think about when I was, you know, and goes back a few years. All I could think about was the one reviewer at a site that remained nameless, that basically, you know, before Destiny came out, and he saw the screenshots of the ships, and he said in the review, and he shit all over it, but he said in the review basically, he said, you know, I saw those ships and I thought, wow, we'll be able to fly here and fly there and do this and do that and ship combat. I'm like, that's interesting, because Bungie never said anything about that ever being in the game ever. And he said it's just our means to kind of like show the loading screens and all this stuff. I guess he glossed over that. and then gave it lower marks because he couldn't flash ships and do space combat. I thought, yeah, that game was not about that, and that was never mentioned, and because you expected that, so fuck them for not putting in the game when they never said anything about that. And that's the problem. It always makes me go back to that, because I'm thinking, if you can't play a demo of it, and you can, but you have plenty of videos to watch, plenty of things out there to make a good judgment call, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't do any of that, and you buy the game sight unseen, maybe you don't like it, and you're entitled to that. I get that, but if you can make an informed purchase, and especially the games nowadays, you can. It's very easy to do that, right? It's like, especially if you're like you were talking about Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, you're pretty much good to try out about anything. So, but the Gotham Knights stuff, the more that I saw on the different worst of all of 2022 and most disappointing game, I thought they all have the same problem. It's all the 30 frame thing. They don't like the fact that it's not Arkham. I'm like, wow.
There's a handful of problems, and all those are really, like you say, and I said it a little bit ago, and I've said it multiple times about other games. Just because it's not the game you want it to be doesn't mean it sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you say, it's so easy to make an informed decision now. Half the time, there's 1,000 videos before the game's ever out, so you should be able to see it enough. Back in the day, we got some cover art. That's all we got.
Yeah, we didn't get shit. We didn't know anything about it.
You paid a ton of money for something you had no idea what the gameplay was even like.
Yeah.
I hope you like it.
You hoped it was good.
Really got burned.
Oh yeah.
Now, like, you can watch these games. YouTube. Like I said, unlimited content of these games now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
I mean,
I feel like if you pay a shit ton of money for something and you hate it, it's kind of on you. I mean,
yeah, no, I agree.
There's a few games that, like, and I'm not saying every time it's your fault, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's a very specific setting, I think, to where it's the only time where it's not your fault. And like, one example for that is there's been a lot of the Persona games, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them.
I think there's cool. I think it's a cool concept. It's never really been my style of stuff before.
Yeah.
However, I'm kind of warming up to a lot of Japanese anime and some shit like that. So, I'm kind of branching out and discovering this stuff. And I've seen tons of stuff on the Persona series. Just never really played any of them. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a whirl and see. Because, like, one of them was on sale. And, like, I don't know, it just wasn't clicking for me. And I may revisit it at some point and really like it.
Which one did you get? Did you get 5?
Yeah.
That was the latest one. The 5 got, like, outstanding reviews. I haven't personally played it, but I know that people love that game. They love it.
I'm sure it's a great game. And there's a couple caveats to this, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's a great game. It probably takes a little bit to kind of get into. Like all this stuff is.
Yes.
And I just tried it, and it just wasn't clicking for me. And I'm like, I just don't think this is for me, at least right now. It's not. And I just didn't really care for it, right?
Yeah.
But yet I watched a ton of videos before. I knew what I was getting into. It was kind of a thing, like, there are some cases to where until you play it, you can't really get the tone or the
flavor of it. Yeah, totally. I get that.
Yeah, and so but it's very rare that happens. Most games you can really tell by watching enough of it if you're going to like it or not, And this one I was very hesitant on. It just, so many people love it, so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to give it a try, finally, and see what happens. Now, my big caveat with that is I got it on Steam Deck.
Yes.
So the way Steam does it, you can request a refund of it, but only if it's been within a certain amount of time and if you've played only a certain length. I forget what it is, like 2 hours or something.
Yes.
So it wasn't clicking for me very soon, and I'm like, I don't know if this is going to hit or not. I'd got it on a sale.
Yeah.
Because that's really what I tried. So I didn't want to play too much more of it and still not like it to where I couldn't get my money back.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I just requested a refund. I was like, maybe I'll try it somewhere down the road and see.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I got other shit I can play that I know
Yeah.
I'll like. So maybe I just didn't give it enough time to, gel with me. But that's kind of my only thing to say, really. But I think there's cases to where you can still be well informed and just make that mistake, but not
True.
like the world does with every freaking game now. It seems like.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
if you can't pick at least like 90% or something, then you're an idiot.
Yeah. Well, you see, and then you got and that's a good point. And you know what? The other thing I always say to people, like, they're like, man, the reviews are like, yeah, don't really like that Far Cry 6. It's Far Cry. Like it's not. How much different did you expect it to be from 5
Yeah.
and 4 and 3?
Like Call of Duty or whatever, right? Like if you don't like Call of Duty, maybe don't buy the new one.
Yeah, because it's going to be Call of
Duty. I know
Duty.
you don't like Call of Duty, right?
But you know what I mean? No, I mean I like COD. Here's the thing. It's like,
well, I know it's not for you. That's really because I don't want to go down a big Call of Duty conversation.
No. But you know what's interesting? Like you said, it's like anyone that's like, well, I've been buying COD for 20 years. Let's just say, right? And then they get the new COD and they go on the YouTube channel and they're like, you know what? This sucks. It didn't do this or didn't do that. They just did this or rehash. It's COD. Why would you expect them to do anything like, why? Why? Yeah. The game is virtually unchanged except for like when they did the future run along the walls and shit. That really changed a lot of the way it played. But generally speaking, it's fucking COD. It's like, why would you? And then then to go on your channel and shit on it, it's like, okay, well, what did you expect?
Yeah, it's clickbaity stuff. It's trendy stuff. I hate it. I hate that mentality. I hate that kind of stuff. And I tell you, one other instance where that really just burns my ass every fucking time is so I haven't talked about this other than just mentioned a second ago, but I got a Steam Deck now.
Yes.
And whole different conversation, or maybe we'll talk about it here in a bit. But I've played the Madden games throughout the years, right? You just said
not
too long ago.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I have the new one. Have issues with that. We talked about that a little bit. What I'm getting at though is I was really, Steam Deck and like the Switch, like it's very cool to have portable options of things, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And I like laying in bed and play stuff because I'm not going to really lay in bed and play Ps5 because mine's down in the basement and my bed is not.
Yeah.
So like having a Steam Deck to pop up. So I constantly look for like good fits for something to casually play in bed or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to read more about like the stuff on Madden on like the PC version because it's, without getting into that, it's a slightly different version than what the next gen version is on PS5 and stuff like
gotcha.
that. Like, because Steam Deck uses Steam, so it's all PC games because it's basically a computer. So I'm trying to figure out about this new Madden because I really didn't care about it for the most part. However, it went on sale like around Super Bowl time for like $12 or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, a football game on my Steam Deck or whatever. So I'm trying to read the reviews, and every fucking review is, oh, it's the same game as last year. This is the same, This is the roster.
They reuse the assets.
Because I haven't bought a fucking Madden on PC since 2002.
Yeah,
right? So I don't care if it's the same as last year. I want to hear about this one and what. Like, I don't want to hear that it's the same as last year. I didn't buy last year's. I don't care if it's the same. Like, tell me about this one, damn it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's all you hear is that same game as last year. Okay.
Well, it's funny because you think about this, like, okay, we all know it's been proven a lot. They kind of bare bones with it. They're really focused on the MUT cards because it makes $800 million a year for them. Madden should be free at this point, but anyway, that's a whole other conversation. They don't put a lot of thought or time or effort into, 10 faces were created, player, whatever, right? They reused assets. People zoomed in. Oh, look, it's the logos from last year's game and blah, 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 blah. The sidelines and the animations are canned and they're not very good. And they took this feature and it's the same Super Bowl animations for 6 games straight and blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, people, like you're saying, like it's the same thing. It's fucking football. Yeah. What do you expect? Like, why would it be any different? And it's like, that's why I don't, and that's the problem.
There's gameplay improvements and there's shit like that, and like I've had, I've talked about this many times. Annual releases are usually best if you skip a couple years. And you get
you have said that. You've said that many times.
And it holds true with Madden, and I've gotten them throughout the years on consoles, but I've skipped 22 freaking versions of Madden on the
yeah, exactly. So, like,
I want to know what it's like now, and I realize it's probably not night and day from the console, but like I just want to know about the version that I'm trying to get.
They're like, same game. Same game.
All I do is fuck.
That's true though. And see, and that's the whole thing. That's where like, you get into where, I don't even like to say that the gaming community at large is toxic anymore. I just think they're just a bunch of fucking idiots. And the expectation they have on everything is like, just because I saw something and they haven't even played the fucking game, I guess I can do that. But how do you know that? They haven't even said anything about that. And then you get mad. And then they go on their channels, and some of these channels have like millions of subscribers. They fucking influence this shit, and they review bomb shit. And unfortunately, I would love to get Gotham Knights 2. Not gonna happen. And it's like, damn it, fuck, it's like a great game that people soured on because of a couple features that didn't like it. 30 frames. Okay, first of all, you've been playing games for 15 years at 30 frames. You didn't bitch about it then, right? Yeah. So I don't know what the problem is. And it wasn't, to me, like, so detrimentally noticeable because I'm used to that, right?
Yeah.
I've been playing...
It would have been nice and it would have been great if it was 60, but it's not. So, like, get over
it,
really.
Yeah, so I mean... Yeah, you don't have to play it. Yeah.
Don't be a freaking crybaby about it.
Yeah. Well, and this is what I want to get into too, because like it's so interesting because, I had all these PS4 games I bought, and then I got all these free upgrades, right? And I'm like, how does that work? And so I got these upgrades. I want to get into the other heroes. I said I want to talk a little bit about Marvel's Avengers. I don't even want to get ad nauseum, whatever, about it. But here's the thing about that game. So playing it on PS5, I was like, and putting performance mode, right? And the graphics of that game, holy shit. Like, it's so night and day on every aspect of the game playing on a 5 and a 4. And it's like, I get the 60 frames. Half the time Marvel Avengers on PS4 ran at like 15 or 16, because of the optimization problems and too much going on. And there was latent button input issues where I'd hit the counter button and I would counter too late. I was like, wait a minute, the button's pressed down. What the fuck's going on? And that doesn't happen on the 5. And I was like, I started playing Avengers again. And I was like, wow, nobody should have played it on the old system at all. And interestingly enough, let's just throw this out there, folks. If you own the game now, or if you plan on getting it because it's going to be discounted, because they're not supporting it anymore, but they're keeping it live because they want people to still play it because you can play it offline. March 31st we get the final update, and the store closes, and every skin is free. Every fucking skin they ever made for the game is 100% free of charge, no store, everything is yours. So if you want those cool Infinity War and different movie skins, you won't have to pay anything for it. All the characters' battle passes go away. So the game is going to be really awesome, and you will still be able to play with your friends. So they didn't like shut it down in that respect. Not like a Babylon's Fall where they said, fuck it, the game's done. This is actually cool that Crystal Dynamics and Square is doing that. But, playing that game, and it's so different on the 5. Like it's a joy to play. I have been playing it and leveling different things up, and not playing the campaign, just doing the assemble stuff, playing as Spider-Man, playing as Thor, playing as Black Panther, playing as Captain. It's so much fun because I don't have input lag. I don't have frame rate drops anymore. I don't have screen tearing. I don't have any of the stuff that plagued that game on 4. It's the reason I didn't play. I went through the campaign on 4 and I played different things on 4, but I had a hard time playing. I was like, God, it won't counter because of the input lag. It won't do this because of the input lag. And on 5, you don't have any of that issue. And I'm like, wow, this game was meant for the better systems. And I fell all back in love with that game. I love that game. It's not as good as Gotham Knights, in my personal opinion. Gotham Knights is solid, and it's better in so many ways than Avengers. But playing Avengers on the newer systems is the way to go. Folks, if you haven't done that, you got to do that. It is so much better. If you have the 4 or the Xbox and you get an upgrade, do it. Try it out again. You'll thank me, because it is so much of a better game. And it's nice to not have those issues. You just don't have them. And being able to play and not have that, just really, and the way it looks with the updated, the graphics and the performance and all that stuff, it's like, wow, the models, it is spectacularly a better game all the way around on the 5. I don't know if you've tried it, but man, it's cool. And the fact that when they do give us all those free skins, I mean, all those characters have like 20, 30 different skins, or if not more. And it'll be great to actually play like the skins from the movies and really, that's awesome. That is awesome.
It's cool. I kind of moved on from it, after beating the campaign. I think it's a very cool experience for that. The multiplayer, there's lots of fun to be had there, and I think it's cool that they're making all that stuff free. I haven't played the PS5 version of it.
You should. Cool. It's great.
I like that it's there, and maybe when all that stuff becomes free, I'll hop back in.
It'll be March 31st. They said March 31st. It's like that's it, and then everything will be free. And I was like, see, that's cool, because the fact that those skins, they did try to get money out of it, and they give every character its own battle pass, and they microtransactions to death, and I was like, oh my God, you didn't shit the bed. Why did you do this? Especially when you got to the point where it was like, okay, well, if I play as this character and I want my AI companions to go with me, but if they're not at the level that my character is on this level, they won't even let me play the level. I'm like, what, God, I got to level up everybody individually? Are you insane? So that was such a grindy experience. But the gameplay in general is much more, it's just so much more solid on the newer systems. And so you should try to revisit it after the 31st. Just download it and get the skins. At least get the skins. You gotta enjoy the fruits. You gotta enjoy the fruits, man.
Let's talk about something different.
Yeah, let's go into something different.
Have you played Proteus?
I have not played the Proteus game. That's that first-person shooter, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it like kind of old school looking, if memory serves? Yes, I haven't played that. It looks cool. It looks. Oh, okay.
It was on sale for quite a while around Christmas time.
Mm-hmm. I saw that.
Not sure where it's probably full price now. I don't know, but next time it goes on sale and it's a good price for you, give it a whirl.
Okay.
It is amazing. So.
It looks good. I watched videos on it and I was like, that looks cool.
It's pretty much, it's very much in the style of retro first-person shooter, Doom vibes all the way. But there's some awesome things about it. So the level design, for one, is outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so good. And in like a retro way, I don't know. The levels feel so epic in a sense. And there's certain levels to where you start to go down, and it makes you want to replay them, because you'll go down and as I'm playing these games, and I'm sure every gamer does it, but you're kind of mental mapping the level, right?
Yeah.
So you're going through and you're, okay, this goes here, I've done it, and I'm very methodical when I move through these maps, because I want to cover it all. in
Yeah.
a sense, as much as you
Yeah.
can. And like this, like you'll get turned around and get lost. Like you go down one chasm where you think it's gonna kind of go, and like it just just the level design is amazing. And you'll go through it, and then you'll realize, well, there's these other areas I didn't check out still, so you want to go back through. So it's very cool in that way. It's retro style, so everything's pixelated and stuff. However,
Mm-hmm.
it's also like 3D modeled with like that effect laid over top.
That's interesting.
So it's very customizable because you can take that effect off and just play it like a 3D shooter too,
Okay. Okay.
without that
Yeah.
pixelated look. It
Oh, that's
also
interesting. Yeah.
has like rock and heavy music, like the 2016 Doom and stuff.
Oh,
It was
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
2016, right? What year was that?
Yeah. Was it 18 or 16? I thought it was
Yeah, I don't
18.
remember. Maybe it's 2018.
I think it was 18.
You know which one I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I
So
know. Yeah.
it's got that rock and heavy soundtrack like that, and
Uh-huh.
it also has an optional MIDI soundtrack
Oh.
to
Okay.
play with like that retro sound
Old
too.
school. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It has a world map,
Mm-hmm.
so as you're picking the levels, you're moving the world map. It also has like integrated in with like the full on game design like PC level editor and stuff. So there's a
Oh, nice.
community for downloading maps and downloading entire campaigns.
No, nice. Yeah.
And it's just so fun. Like it's never super expensive. I think full price. Maybe it's like $30 or $20 or something like that. But
That's not bad.
I seen on sale it was down much lower than that.
Okay.
Maybe like $10 or something.
Yeah, I think it was like $9.99 at one point. Yeah.
Yeah. I finally got around to trying it. I got it for a bit. I was excited about it. It came out. I didn't play it for a long time. I actually rebought it because I got it for the Steam Deck and decided to play it on that. But I have it on like PlayStation too.
Okay.
And like it's so great for that too. Like just portable. Like I know it's on the Switch as well. So like whatever way you want to play it, it's a great pick up and play game. It's a cool first person shooter, all in vein of just the retro style, of course. So like it's not a super in depth like like a modern type of game. But if you like that old school stuff, it's a great game, and it mixes a lot of new elements, and it's a high recommend.
Well, that is good to hear, because it looks great. I haven't personally played it, so that's a huge recommendation. And if you get in that, and you recommend it, tell folks, if Posthuman Guy John here is telling you the game's good, and he says get it because he's a Doom guy. I love Doom. It's like then you need to get it because you're gonna love it, and he's not going to steer you. Yeah, I know you are. I know you are. You know what's funny is because I haven't really had the money to buy anything for like specifically PS5 outside of Steel Rising, which is a Dark Souls-like game, but it actually improves upon the formula from Spiders. And I didn't know that game was a Dark Souls type game. Spiders kind of has a way of making the RPGs, and I was expecting that, and it's not. I was like, oh, well, this is different for them. That game is tremendous, but I'm going to do a video on that by itself, so I'm not going to get into that. But most of the games that I've been trying to play is my upgraded stuff, right? Like Cyberpunk upgraded, fantastic. No Man's Sky upgraded is incredible. Like there's so much more it does because it now has the processing power to do so, with alongside of its incredible updates that it still keeps updating. And I've been playing a lot of No Man's Sky and just into the space stuff again. I love it, love it, love it. And I've gotten so many different games that I was like, oh, okay, well, that's an upgrade, and that's an upgrade. And Scarlet Nexus, that's an upgrade. And just checking out the upgrades. And in some cases, not upgraded, but like now I have options for performance and stuff on some of the PS4 games I've noticed. I was like, okay, well, that's great. And just like Monster Hunter World doesn't have a PS5 upgrade, but it has added performance and graphics and all that stuff to it. And to play that game with its now nearly non-existent load times, and that game had terrible load times at times, and it just, the way it runs and the 60 frames, and the fact that it's just the way, I'm like, wow, this is a huge improvement. And so it's nice that I have that, and having those options. So I haven't, like I said, been able to buy a whole lot of stuff that's specifically PS5 related outside of Gotham Knights and Steel Rising, and but having those upgrades, like it in many times, I'm like, wow, that's like a significant like change, like in the way it plays.
Yeah.
I did recently purchase Warhammer Chaos Bane, which is like the fantasy Warhammer game that's like Diablo, right? And they had the deluxe version, which is only two versions, but it comes with everything, all the expansions, the whole 9 yards, and it was $5,
Yeah, it's
right?
dirt cheap, that one.
Yeah, and it's normally like 50, $60, and the PS4 version I had, but there was no upgrade, and that went that cheap. I was like, well, I'm gonna get it on. I want the PS5 version of it, and it's a big jump, a big difference in its not just frame rate, but just overall graphics fidelity and everything. I was like, wow, this is really good. This is really good. Now I sat down and ended up playing it on the 5 one day, and I went from like I was already at like level 8, and I was like I blinked and like hours had passed, and I was like mostly towards the end of the game. I was like, well, shit, I just sat through once, and it's just I found that the upgraded games or PS5 versions, I find myself enjoying them more because of those options and the fact that it just there's the smoothness and this everything and no input lags on different things. I love all that.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah, and especially it just made me want to keep playing them. I've been going back. I've been playing Monster Hunter Rise. Because I love Monster Hunter. Um, the next game that I plan on buying is the new Omega Force produced but published by EA Wild Hearts, which is like Monster Hunter, but with different things. And that looks tremendous, and the reviews are very good on it. And I want to get into that. And there's some, and I also I love on the store that you get a wish list, and so I got different games I've already put on there that I'm like, okay.
And the app, by the way, it'll pop up, give you notification when they go on sale.
Yeah, which is cool, and that's what it does for me. It'll actually tell me when stuff's on sale. So I just, like I said, but the games I've been mainly playing, as you see on the screen, as Elite Dangerous Horizons. It doesn't have an upgrade, but it does have the graphics options, and Elite did this update not too long ago, and I hadn't visited the game, and I started playing it again, and they changed the tutorial completely. Like they actually don't just say, do these systems, go, forget it, Dark Souls, you're fucked, right? So they actually run you through everything, including combat, and then they let you go. But one of the things that they did for the game that I love, they actually added the ability to, like, before you had to like fly and dock your ship yourself and land yourself and do all that stuff. Well, they got an auto dock thing now, and you can tell it, yeah, we'll just bring you in. They tractor you in and do your whole 9 yards. So they also have, when you jump drive, like before it was like you had to monitor that, make sure you weren't going too fast or that slow. They put in these weird automated options that are just in part of the game. It's not in the options. I mean, it's just part of the game to streamline it further, to get you a little bit more accessibility into the game. And the game is just so much better for it. And I was like, so I've been playing a lot of the space games. Elite's one I've been like playing a lot of. I've been playing a lot of No Man's Sky. I've been playing Rebel Galaxy. I've been just kind of playing. That's the games I've been playing mostly. And playing some Monster Hunter, on and off here. I played Rise today, so it was like, I love all these upgrades. I love the fact that the games, even the ones not specifically upgraded PS5, but the enhancements that it does, and that's the overall take I have from what I've been playing. There are a lot of stuff in the pipeline and stuff that's out now I would love to be able to get. I haven't got, but the one you were just talking about is on my wish list. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I've been staying pretty current for the most part. Like since we talked and done a lot of stuff, and since the holidays, been playing. I played through a lot of Proteus. I haven't really beat that yet, but I'm still currently playing that. I play it on my Steam Deck pretty regular. Went through that Gotham Knights. Went through God of War Ragnarok. Started playing Midnight Suns, which is cool.
Yes.
played some of Police Simulator, and we can go back and talk about these if you want. But Police Simulator, played that a little bit. Went all the way through Callisto Protocol.
Yeah, that game is
went
weird.
All the way through Cyberpunk, which is what I wanted to really go back and visit, and I talked about that some, at least my plan to do. And I wanted to really, really complete it, not necessarily 100% it kind of thing, but like just mostly kind of close to that. Like,
yes,
so much of the gigs and stuff and the cyber psycho stuff is kind of cookie cutter, and like I don't get much out of it. I've done a lot of those, but like all of the quests, the main storyline, the side quests, so much of it, I feel like I've really ran through that game to the point to where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for DLC now. I'm ready,
Yeah, because the expansion's coming, and it's not coming to the older systems. It's just the newer stuff, which I think, well, that's kind of a shame. I get it, but I still think it's kind of a shame. I had played through, on the PS4, a large portion of the game, and I did a lot of the side stuff, the cyber cycle stuff. I liked all the stuff because it helped, but it was interesting because I played it for like 3 days right after you get Johnny, and I was like, okay, now I won't do anything story, and I'll just play the game and level and grind, and it just became ridiculously overpowered. So when I played the story, I was like, dead, you're gone, dead. So it was just, and Cyberpunk, I was like, okay, now I can check it out on 5. Download it, and I was like, wow. Just, again, blown away because there's more people in the world, the fidelity, the cars, you don't have the frame rate drops. It's such, again, another game.
And on performance, it's so smooth.
Yeah, it's so good on the new systems.
Because I got lucky when I first tried it, and I had it on the Series X, and it really played pretty good, but it's only improved since then.
Yeah.
And I just waited and waited. The big reason for me having it on both is, because I've said before, I went back and I bought the collector's edition off of eBay at a discounted rate or whatever. And I'm like, well, if I'm getting that, because all the stuff that came with it is what I wanted, I'm just going to get on PlayStation just so I have the version too. Well, the version that I started playing through with all the big updates and stuff now is the PS5 version, mainly because I wanted the haptic triggers and stuff, the adaptive triggers and stuff like that. And I don't know, so glad that I waited, because it was such an awesome playthrough at that point. And I don't know, like, it's a shame that that's not the experience so many people had, but for the most part, I feel like everybody's kind of came around and gave it a second try and ended up loving it. And for me, I love that type of universe, that cyberpunk, just kind of like aesthetic and feel. And and that shit.
Shadowrun, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I completely dove into it. I just wanted to. I didn't care how long it took. I didn't focus on any other game.
Yeah.
Had no rhyme or reason, like just whatever I felt like doing, whether it's a side mission or a main story. I just went through it and then just tidied up. When it was done.
I don't know if you have played it or not, but it's interesting because Cyberpunk. It's interesting you mentioned this. Cyberpunk is great. It wasn't, at the beginning. We did a whole video on it, me and you, on the 4, and talked about how it wasn't as bad as people said it was. There was issues, obviously, but it wasn't like so detrimental that it made me not play the game. It's funny how that genre, cyberpunk genre, if you want to call it, they put the Shadowrun trilogy out on there. They redid Blade Runner, which is that old Westwood PC game. Then I was playing through a game called The Ascent that originally was on and Ascent was originally a Microsoft thing, and they put it on the PS4. I bought it, and that's a great game. Yeah, that's a great game. And then there's a game called Ruiner, and then you have Dex, which is Ruiner's been out, but it's a cyberpunk game. And it's interesting how there's a lot of that game made people go, oh, let's make some more games. There's Foreclosure, and there's a lot of. It seems weird how Cyberpunk became a big deal all of a sudden. I'm thinking, well, shit, I was doing Cyberpunk stuff way back with Deus Ex, so it's and now it's the Cyberpunk 2050, whatever, the 20, whatever the year is on the, I can't remember.
Cloudpunk was another
Yeah,
big one.
yeah, Cloudpunk, and I have Cloudpunk, and I think what's interesting about that is not on the 4, but on the 5, they put in the first person you're inside your vehicle, and you can drive while you're in the vehicle, not just see the vehicle. On the PS4, you can't do that. They only put that on the new stuff and on the PC. So I'm like, I'm in the vehicle driving in first person. This is cool, and it's interesting how the Cyberpunk game, all of a sudden everybody just started making Cyberpunk games. It was like it just, even though that game didn't do it.
It's cool, though.
It's nice, yeah.
And like as an IT guy, my whole life is kind of ingrained with technology. So
Yeah.
I like that personally, and just endless possibilities of it all.
And Cyberpunk,
so cool.
to its credit, they the updates, they kind of really shorted up, like, oh cool, now I can have multiple apartments that I can furnish, and now I can change my character's appearance anytime I want, and now I can, it's like all those improvements. I mean, though it may not have bounced back quite like No Man's Sky did, but it's very similar. It's like it had issues, and then they went silent.
Generally respected now.
Yeah, people seem to really.
Like you're missing it. It's great.
Yeah, it's a great game. You absolutely need. If you didn't pick it up then pick it up now. And if you picked it up then, and you were like, man, this is just not where it needs to be. Even with the updates on 4 on the older systems and everything they've added to it, it's really still good, and you should play it. It is an excellent game. I absolutely.
And if you played it and you liked it, and you haven't, check out the Edge Runners anime on Netflix.
Yeah, and that's part of that too. And they added some of that into the game, which I think is interesting, which is really cool.
Have you watched that yet?
I haven't watched it. I'm like behind on watching a million things as it is, but it's like
it's a sad tale, really, but it fits Night City because there's not a lot of happy endings in Night City, but it's a great companion piece of media, and like you mentioned, there's elements that do crossover. So like he, if you watch it, the main character, he's kind of got this iconic like yellow jacket and stuff, and you can get that in the game. You can get some of the weapons left over, and there's kind of some cool nods here and there.
I'm gonna switch gears and switch from Cyberpunk to Magic, and I didn't buy it yet, but you've been playing Hogwarts Legacy, right? Am I correct? Yeah. Give us a few. I mean, you don't have to go into but tell us a little bit about that, how you feel about that, because I know it was a highly, highly hyped and anticipated game. And how are you feeling about that? And real question, is it strictly solo only, or are they going to add anything with your friends can jump in and wizardry it up, or is it just mainly?
They haven't announced any DLC plans. They haven't really said there's not. They just it's another one of those games where there's no microtransactions.
Oh, thank God! Thank you.
They worked on the game. They haven't talked about any DLC. They haven't pre-sold any DLC.
Okay.
There was a deluxe edition to where they locked behind like some of the dark art stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna want that. So, but it was a couple little cosmetic things, and behind one of the deluxe edition, I think there's like a dark arts arena they locked behind that for whatever reason.
Okay.
Kind of practice and like just kind of like I think it's in waveform battles.
Mm-hmm.
Do you practice your combat and stuff? But anyway, so no major microtransactions other than that stuff. Single player only. No announced DLC at this point. One major omission from it, however, is Quidditch.
Yeah.
Not in the game.
That's a shame because
there's a lot of speculation though, that's going to come as a DLC, and perhaps that's going to be the multiplayer component, right?
That would make a lot of sense, right? Because then you would be like, I'm on a team and quit. Because I remember way back on the GameCube, and I like the Harry Potter stuff in particular, and they made a Quidditch game. That's all the game is. It's the sport, and that was great. I used to play that a lot. And
I think it
now,
would be cool if they did a standalone something,
yeah,
honestly, and make it a multiplayer thing, and like, or I don't know. I guess if you do an add-on, whatever. But it would be cool because a lot of people's not going to care about the RPG thing, but they would like a modern kind of thing. So I
yes.
think it'd be cool to do like a standalone expansion, perhaps, and make it
hmm
multiplayer.
Now, so far, what you have played of it, it does have a creative player, right?
Yeah, it's not super
In depth.
robust, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's got some cool options,
Okay.
but like you're gonna make a normal looking human
The other thing too, I want to
that looks
ask
kind of
too,
generic. So
which I
like,
think a lot of people who haven't played it, just real quick, when you make your character and then you can go back to the creative player, um, do you choose what house you want to? Do you Slytherin, Hufflepuff? Do you
yes,
choose that, or does the hat choose for you, or do you?
both, both.
Okay.
So yeah, you go in and you you go into the sorting ceremony, and they put the hat on you, and it kind of asks you some questions, and then it sorts you into a house. But then you can either go with that, or you can manually pick which one you want to join.
Okay. Okay. Now, how does that affect the game? Because there's it's we me and Desiree talk about we when we discuss Potter. I'm like, it's interesting because like Slytherin has this bad rap of being like
Yeah.
evil, even though I know that not everybody there is about that. And Gryffindor is like that we're the Gryffindors and we're the high, and but does that affect any of the game and dialogue or like?
Very little, very little.
Okay.
So, of course, your like robe and stuff you get, anything house themed, of course, it affects. You'll have your
Yeah.
house kind of stuff.
Cosmetically, yeah.
The world and the castle is free roam.
Nice.
So, every house has their common room, like they mentioned in films.
Yeah.
So, you'll have a different common room based on which house you're in, and that's really not a big deal. The only other thing that I think it affects is like every house kind of has an exclusive quest that you can do.
Okay. Now, I'm assuming.
And I'm pretty sure that the Slytherin one gives you take a brief trip to Azkaban. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. See
But I
now,
think that's the only way you can get there is if you're in that house and you get to that quest.
the only reason I'm asking about that is because, and again, I hate to go back to Gotham Knights, was I didn't realize this, but like dialogue was slightly different depending on who you used, depending on who you were interacting with. And I didn't notice it at first until I noticed it, right? And it was subtle, but I was like, okay. So I didn't know how that worked because I'm assuming that once you pick your house, if you pick it, you're locked to it. There's no changing that, I'm assuming.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I haven't found a way or seen
and with the open world, and I know in the videos I've watched, and people flying around on the brooms and different things, is the game world very, 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 very large?
It is really large, yeah. So now I haven't. There's a lot of it that I haven't explored yet.
Yeah.
So the game overall is great, by the way.
Okay,
I
good.
haven't said that yet. It's great. Now, I always feel like I'm a little bit older generation for Harry Potter. Like it was never my big thing. Like,
Uh-huh.
by the time it came out, like I was dating people whose kids was into it.
Yeah.
So like it's a little bit of a different thing for me.
Yes.
I feel like if I was a big Harry Potter fan, this would be amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
I like Harry Potter. I've seen them all. I haven't read the books. I've seen all the movies, and I liked them. I like the universe. I think it's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of have that like youngish teenager, because it's all kids, right? That's the main thing. So know that going in, because the game's no different. Like
Gotcha.
everybody you interact with is kids, like
Young
it's
teens,
very
yeah.
it's lighthearted in that way. Nothing ever gets too serious,
Yeah.
It's a great game, and it's a great representation of that universe. So,
Well, see, that's good because, when you get into something that's its own thing, it's not licensed off the movies. It's based off the license, right? So it's one of the things that I always when people talk about like the Lord of the Ring games, and I'm like, if you really want to play a really really awesome, is play Shadow of War. That game is phenomenal, right? So it's like you got to play that if you're going to play that if you like the lore. I mean, they got to fuck with Sheila and it makes no sense, but like they're going to do. But I wondered about that because I thought what I thought was so interesting about the game, not playing it, but the setting. I'm like, it's not Harry Potter's time modern. It's fucking 1800s or whatever the fuck. So it's like 100 years ago at the school. And so
it doesn't feel any different, really, like than the movies. Like it's because
that's good.
Like because in the movies, like you kind of don't really know what year it is, and everything's kind of like aesthetically in an age of that time anyway. So yeah. I mean, obviously the characters that are in those aren't in here, but there's nods to a lot of that stuff. Some of the things they reference in the movies. The people that started each house and like just some of that stuff, that's long gone by the movies. Like it's in here. There's references to it here.
A lot of lore.
Very tied into the lore. Yeah, the world. Getting back to what you were asking about the world itself, it's very very large. It's very expansive. Like you start out and you get a cutscene in like the that Diagon Alley thing.
Yes.
You don't really explore it or anything. You head off to the school you're starting as a 5th year.
Gotcha.
And some stuff happens. I won't get into that. Spoiler stuff. You eventually make it to the castle. You go through the sorting stuff. And then you're in the house. And it's not structured in the way of like Persona or anything like that. But you do have classes that you attend along the way.
Uh-huh.
There's tons of side stuff. You can explore the whole castle that has like seemingly infinite number of secrets and things to just puzzles to solve and stuff like that. And then
That's
you go
great.
outside of that, because you have to venture to Hogsmeade pretty early on, which is a very close, like kind of large town.
Yes.
And it's got shops like what you would expect, to where you can, get crafting stuff and potions and just like various magical supplies.
Typical RPG stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's just lots of other stuff in the world. There's the Forbidden Forest stuff. You can go in there and roam around. There's caves and stuff you can go into.
Nice.
All these other zones, and I'm flying over stuff like to do some of these objectives, and I'm flying over tons of shit that I see down there that looks very cool to explore. Like here's some tower that's looks like runes and stuff, but I didn't stop for that because I'm on the way to this other thing. And just you see lots of things, and the map is super large. And it's just, I don't know, it's cool. Like there's a ton to explore. There's like these like most open world games, there's this number of this thing that you can collect, or this number of this type of puzzle to solve, or this type of this. There's side quests. There's the main storyline. Oftentimes, there's multiple main storyline type of things going. There's you don't do the Quidditch stuff, but you do stuff on the broom, and there's like racing trials with that you can do.
Okay, side stuff, yeah, nice.
Combat is super super fun. I really like the combat. So both main missions and side quests, you complete objectives and stuff, and then you unlock spells.
Okay.
And spells do all kinds of stuff. Like, some are like some you get automatically. You can light up your wand like a flashlight. So if you're darker. And, you learn like the Revelio spell, to where you kind of, it's almost like, it's to reveal magical stuff or hidden stuff. You get combat spells. You get like the repair stuff. You get the levitation stuff, and you use a lot of those for puzzles and stuff too.
Yeah.
But like the combat, there's so many like combat spells, and as you play and do stuff, you unlock. And like the combinations you can do with that, and the potions, and the There's like weaponized like plant type of creatures in there that you
Okay.
can throw out.
Oh, neat, neat. Yeah, very
Um,
cool.
yeah, there's this whole room of requirement thing that you get at a certain point, and it's in the movies, and it's basically a room for what what is needed by said person, right? So in the
Okay.
game's
Yeah.
purpose, a lot of these extra side quests you get are under the guise of you're a fifth year student, so you're trying to catch up with the other uh, kids in the school for that year, so the teachers will give you additional stuff as opposed to the classes you attend,
Oh,
right? So
okay.
like
Okay.
that's your
Neat.
side stuff.
Okay.
So the
Neat.
room of requirement kind of comes in the guise of like, okay, here's a space that you need to like set up your crafting stations and stuff like that to help you catch up, right? So
Yeah.
that in turn gives you this customizable area that you can change the look of the walls, the ceiling, the floor.
Oh, that's cool.
You
Yeah. Very neat. Very
unlock
neat.
cosmetic items that you can decorate with, but you also can get like a potion station or like a pottery type of thing, like to where you can grow plants and stuff, and so you can get these seeds and recipes and like craft your potions and stuff with
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Very nice.
There's a whole like in the vein of Gotham Knights and Avengers and stuff like that loot system that you get,
Okay.
all
Very
of
good.
which you can transmog to whatever look you're liking at the time.
Okay. Nice. Nice. I always like
You
the
unlock
transmog
new
options.
looks for items as you go. It's just a very, very expansive. It's great. Like it's one of those games like you get into it and you see a ton, and then you see more, and then you see more, and like you
Yeah.
don't really know where the cap is yet.
Okay. You see, and that's always good because not too many games. I mean, I know that they knock a lot of games for having like a lot of busy work. You know, you get into like an Assassin's Creed and this ginormous map and there's 10,000 icons and it's like Far Cry gets into that a little bit, but it's even though you see all those icons, a lot of it is just similar stuff, right? You know,
Yeah.
I remember playing through Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I was like, I love the setting, and there's just all of fucking Greece, and you know the first island's massive to begin with, and you're like, and as I played through it, I was like, I love the loot, I like the different armors and stuff, but I was like, God bless it, it's like this, the icon here, and even it's like I'm just doing a lot of the same thing over and over again, and ad nauseum. So, um,
Yeah.
it's
And a couple rebuttals to that, like this one, it doesn't throw everything at you all at once. It
good.
gives you things like so your map's not filled with all this stuff, overwhelming stuff to do. It just accumulates over time. And then, the other thing I got to say to that is like, there's been how many Assassin's Creed games? Like,
No, yeah,
it
yeah,
gets a little repetitive. This is your one. Like, if you're a
you're
Harry
first,
Potter
yeah.
fan, like you want that, right? So it's there's a ton to do. It's very fleshed out in that sense.
Yeah, because that's interestingly enough, it's like that's a game like they made different ones on the old systems, right?
Yeah.
And then the last one that I can recall, is like the Harry Potter Lego games, right? So like, and
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
that recently for like free, like a couple years ago. I
It's
never
just
downloaded it, but like,
$11 on
I like the Lego games.
or
I just never
PS4
got them.
Square.
Yeah, because you got both games. You got the first 4 years and that, and 5 through 8, whatever. So I've got it. It's free. I
I
just
got
never
that
download it.
modded
Yeah,
too. I never played it.
yeah. I never played it, and it's just because it's like I played through the Avengers one. I played through whatever, but like it's good to hear that the game, this Harry Potter game, the Hogwarts Legacy game, is like it's great that even though you've watched the movies and maybe you're not like Harry Potter crazy, but like it's still you play it and you're like this is really good. This is interesting. It's different, and I like that
Yeah.
because it means that it's a game that will appeal to both big fans of that universe who just like gaga over it and people who may not necessarily be like hey, I like the movies, but yeah, you know what I mean. So it's nice that it has that appeal.
It's great because, like I say, I mean, if I was a big Harry Potter fan, like this would be my dream right now.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it would be like, okay, here's a Star Wars game. You can walk through the entire Death Star and whatever. Like that would be much cooler to me.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
We
like
haven't
if
got
you're a
that
Harry
one
Potter
yet. Yeah,
fan, this is amazing for that. And there's tons and tons and tons of nods
yeah,
to stuff.
yeah.
Like you see ghosts flying through the hallway, like in the movie, and all the paintings are like moving and talking and stuff,
That's
like
great.
too,
Yeah,
in the thing. And so since I've been playing it, haven't really been watching them too faithfully, but like Saturday here and there, just something. I'll put on a Harry Potter movie now. I'm just moving through them.
yeah.
And one thing I didn't realize though is like everything is so close to the movie. Like um, the like a lot of the classrooms and stuff, and
Yeah.
specifically the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom looks exactly like the movie. Like
Well, see that shows you that this wasn't like a cash grab. It wasn't like let's just make a license game. Fuck it, right? Like half the superhero games in the last 10 years have been like shit.
yeah,
It's like or a movie tie-in, like that's somebody that's like, hey, we like this, we love this franchise, we're making this game, we want to make it like as best as we can, and we're going to put the love and care and attention it deserves, right?
yeah.
It's kind of
They
like,
did a great
yeah,
job. They did it justice. And and I love bargains and I love sales and I watch that stuff and everything. This is definitely worth being a full price game,
no good.
without a
That's good,
doubt.
dude. Yeah, that's
Like
awesome.
you know,
You know,
and I'm not
it's
saying if you don't have the means to get it, don't go out
yeah,
of your way or anything, or by all means wait for a sale. But like oftentimes that comes up, and this is for sure worth the full price.
definitely. I tell you what's interesting. It's always nice to hear a developer to take the time and the care with something, right?
Yeah,
And sometimes it's rarely to the detriment, and sometimes it isn't. It's kind of like when Ilphonic and they did the Friday 13th game, and some rights and stuff came up, and they couldn't do anything more for it. That game was like a total love letter to that, right? So,
yeah,
and they and it's not perfect, but what game is? But the point is like I love when a developer can take something like that, a license or something, and not just say, you know what, yeah, it's just money, cash grab. But it's nice to hear that this developer took that universe and was like, we're going to give it the attention and love it deserves because we're fans of it. We want people who've been waiting for like the ultimate, game, the Harry Potter universe game, and we're going to give them that, right? And we're not going to like nickel and dime you with like, oh yeah, if you want to do this, or yeah, you have battle pass and all the other crap, right? Microtransaction, and they didn't do that. They were like, we're going to do this because we want people to explore this universe, right? And even if they don't put any DLC out and it's more or less just its own standalone game, I'm happy that game, Gotham Knights, and there's some in the pipeline and some that are out now that have kind of abandoned that. Let's make cash, let's make live service stuff, right? So,
yeah.
and it's
And you know what
so
blows my
nice to
mind
see
about
that.
this?
Yeah,
You know what blows my mind about this is I'm like, okay, who made this, right?
yeah.
Avalanche made it. You
Avalanche,
know what
okay.
they've done?
Well, they've
Fucking
been
hardly nothing. Like they've
well.
done stuff, but their
Avalanche
prior game
Studios.
to this was
Yeah,
Cars 3.
yeah,
Then they done the Disney Infinity game.
yeah.
But like it's all been Disney stuff like that. Like I haven't cared anything about. They
Well,
did 25 to Life back in the day.
yeah,
They did like the console ports for Ultimate Mortal Kombat, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, Mortal
yeah.
Kombat Mythologies, but like that's it. They
Well,
haven't done hardly anything.
didn't Avalanche Studios do Generation Zero? Wasn't they the ones behind Generation Zero? And
No,
they weren't. I thought that they were involved with that for some reason. But maybe I have it wrong. I probably have it wrong.
no, they haven't. They didn't do that. Who did it though? Let's see.
I'm trying to think. I don't know why I'm thinking they did that, but I might be thinking of somebody else. I don't know why. But that's, and if that's the case, and they did like Cars and they did like some one-off type, you know what I mean? It's like,
It was
okay,
published by them.
okay.
Oh, well, it says developed and self-published by Avalanche. Avalanche Studios. Let's see.
Looking at them, they're a Swedish developer, right?
Yeah, that's a different studio.
So, because Avalanche Studios Group is a subsidiary. They used to be called Rock Solid Games. And it says products. It says Just Cause series, the Hunter series, Mad Max, Renegade Ops.
Yeah, that's not them.
Yeah.
So Avalanche Software is different, and they're
different. Okay.
Of Warner Brothers and Disney Studios.
Okay, so that's where the confusion is. You have Avalanche Studios, you have Avalanche. Okay, gotcha. That's interesting that they're a game company that hasn't done a whole lot, and then they do this, and that's crazy. So, that's insane.
Like, literally, here's their entire credit. So Hogwarts Legacy 2023. Prior to that was Cars 3, Driven to Win, whatever the fuck that is.
It's a racing game, yeah.
I mean, I know, but come on now, who's played that?
Yeah, true.
Disney
Ka-chow.
Infinity,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Cars 2, Toy Story 3, Bolt, Hannah Montana, Meet the Robinsons, Chicken Little, 25 to Life, Chicken Little again, Dragon Ball Z, Talk 1 and 2, or 3 Talk games, Rugrats,
a lot of licensed games.
Game Bug, Xbox port of NCAA college football, Dreamcast, Prince of Persia. We're back in 2000 now.
Okay, yeah.
Rugrats, Rampage 2, like some of these console ports. Then
it seems,
Off-Road Challenge, Mortal Kombat Mythologies, 2-on-2 Open Ice Challenge, Mortal Kombat Trilogy for PlayStation, which was awesome. And then all of the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo ports.
Gotcha.
Of Mortal Kombat 3.
Well, that's interesting. They haven't done a whole lot over the years. You guys think the last one before this one was 5 years ago, 6. So it's weirdly, and that's interesting. Yeah. They just, hey, we're going to give this studio to do it, and this is a studio that obviously has done a lot of Disney titles and tie-in stuff, right?
Yeah, this is how they got the license work, but holy shit, Disney Infinity and Cars 3 and stuff like that is not like this game. This is a home run.
Well, that's awesome. Then that is nice to see that's pretty spectacular for them to do that. They, it's another one of those, maybe slightly different or different in genre, or it's like Spiders games, French developer. They're just tremendous. And I've sang their praise for so long to so many people. If you ain't playing it, play Greedfall. I got the upgrade for that, and it's Greedfall is stupid good. And they got an expansion for it now, and Technomancer is so good. It's just feels like old BioWare roleplay games when they were good, and I'm it's so good, and they haven't done jack. They've done 4 or 5 games total, and they've done a lot of weird ports and things on over the years, and they're not well known for anything, and they just continuously get better and better. And it's so nice to hear that here's a company that's yeah, we've done all this other stuff, but now we got this, and it's wow, right? Where the fuck did that come from, right?
Well,
that's awesome.
And that happens for sure, right?
Yeah.
Who knew Rocksteady before Arkham?
Yeah, nobody. I mean, they had done some things before that, but no one really.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't a household name at that point.
No, and it's interesting because it's kind of like Rockstar. You associate them with GTA. Rockstar made a lot of other stuff. People don't realize that they've made stuff outside of Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead. I mean, they have. If you go look at everything they've done, you're oh, I didn't know they did that. I didn't know they did that. I didn't know they did that. So it's
And I've followed them pretty closely over the years from back in the day, just because I love all their stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty well versed in what they've done. But there's a lot of titles and a lot of really good ones too. When you really go back. Manhunt is one of the coolest games ever.
Yeah, Manhunt was great.
Very, very faithful Warriors game.
I have that actually on the PS4. Yeah, that's great. I just think it's interesting that it's nice though to see they didn't get, see, because like if they would have given this game to EA to make, it'd have been fucked.
Yeah.
Right, they would have been like, "Oh, how can we, yeah." Well, I'm going to tell you. Let's talk about this real quick because I need to touch base on this. So, last year and the end of a lot of it this year already is, it seems like a lot of companies, because the greed and avarice or whatever else they're trying to do, was really trying to sell this not microtransaction and battle pass and live service shit, and all of these games are like either you're going to be able to play it or they're gone. And it's like they just failed. Square Enix, the 3 games back to back to back, like for them. And a bunch of them, and there's a list, somebody made a YouTube channel of like all the stuff that was live service that came out in 2022. And it's like 30, 40 games. Some of it's PC, some of it's consoles. And it's like, wow, like live service does not work at all because they're too greedy with it and they're too stuff, and it's nice, Hogwarts doesn't have it, Gotham Knights doesn't have it, this game come out, and it's like the death of live service games like Babylon's Fall, weird celebrated platinum games, which usually never makes a bad game. It's their first bad game. I got into it and played it when I got it for cheap, but it's like, and it has some qualities I like about it. But then after playing it for about 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks, I was like, okay, I'm kind of done with this. And there ain't nothing more for me to do in it. And I'm done. And now the game's done. Like, it's done. It's been delisted. Can't buy it. I still have it in my library, but it can't be played. They had the ability, to be perfectly honest with you, to go offline with it, and half the time I just played it without nobody, which is me playing. I hardly ever teamed up with nobody, hardly anybody was playing it. And it's like the live service games that are dying, and if not already dead and are done, like Babylon's Fall. Marvel's going to stay open, but they're done. And other games. Square did 3 of them, and they all just didn't work. And live service, to me, it has not historically worked, and yet so many people still try to do it. And you'd think game companies would just say, we ain't doing this no more because this is not fucking working. And I don't know why they continue to push that, like, we got to do live service, and you play this game and only this game. Why do you feel...
It's the greed... Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask, why do you think that they keep trying to do this live service game, and obviously gamers are like, fuck you, and it's like, we don't want that. Why is that push still there when it's now, in the last couple of years, it's been recognized? Like, I've been thinking about, like, why is anybody even still trying to fucking do it? And they're still trying to do it. It's like, I don't know what they expect.
Well, I feel like it's driven by greed, right? And that's what ruins it. Now, why it keeps going, I mean, I think like anything, once there's a new concept kind of put out there, it's almost like everybody tries to jump on that, and they think, okay, we can do it this way. We can make all this money. It'd be great. And there's kind of some occasional hits and successes with it, right? But it's not really full-on live service either. It's kind of a hybrid, right? Like,
true.
Fortnite is one of the most successful ones I can think of, right? Because it's almost kind of a live service game. Like, it is really, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have that mechanic and that platform, and you just continually add content. So that's probably, I think that is the biggest reason why we've seen so many, because of the success of that.
Well, I'm going to tell you real quick.
That introduced the Battle Pass system.
Yeah.
That kind of introduced that whole live service mechanic, like in a mainstream way, right?
The thing though, is I try to separate the fact that a lot of the newer live service games are games, and they make you pay for them, where Fortnite's free to play. Sure. And it's like, and live service games, it seems like, say they're putting out, they're making you pony up. We want $60 for the game, and then we want this. And I have said this in previous videos. I have said this, especially when it comes to like the real greedy fucking companies, your Activisions, your EAs, your Ubisofts of the world, which is a shame because I buy so many Ubisoft games because the concepts are great. I've said it, but it's like I look at it in this regard. It's like you're not making a video game. You're making a platform to make money disguised as a game. And it's not really a game at all. You know, you can just deep dive and look at it. But like the free-to-play model, is that hybrid.
There's some reasons why like that can really work though too, right?
Yeah.
And I think Fortnite was the gateway and the catalyst for really launching that out there and getting all these because and it works really great because it's free. It's geared towards kids, like, with that, just the aesthetic and everything. And, like, whatever, you don't have a lot of money, your kid doesn't have a lot, like, whatever the situation is, your kid can go download if you got that internet. You can play it and, like, hey, there's a skin, it's, $5 here and there. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's not the steep buying. It's not all these add-on season passes, all this stuff. I mean, there's a season pass now.
Yeah.
But and for the most part, as long as you play regular, you can earn your money for the next one and whatever. It's not a steep buying.
Yeah.
Now, when you charge for the full game, I still think that can work. You just got to do it right, and you can't let the greed overtake the possibility of it and the concept of it. Right?
Yeah.
Like Street Fighter 5 did it great.
Yeah, they did a good job on it. Yeah.
Because it's the platform. You have the fighting platform, then you introduce these waves of content, and it's essentially what it was, and they talked about it when it came out, of they viewed it as a platform to deliver stuff. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The newest version of Hitman is kind of, it's not really a live service. They didn't promote it as that, but when you look at it, they released Hitman 3, and then if you owned Hitman 1 and 2, like of the new reboot, you could bring all of those levels into the Hitman 3 engine and play them all.
Yeah.
So, it kind of became this whole, like, this platform to play all these cool assassin missions on, right? And I think it's not really ever thought of as a live service, but it kind of does a good version of that concept, right?
Yes. See, and that's the thing,
I think it's occasional hits like that, like, with the Doom and Proteus, like I talk about the community map editor stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's ways of using a really solid platform and doing something very cool. Like, how would you feel if it released, say, Doom 3, right?
Yeah.
You got Doom 3 with the multiplayer campaign or whatever, but instead of doing sequels for a bit, they just released, like, kind of campaigns. Campaigns, right?
Yeah. I mean, that would work.
That would be a very successful live service kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So there's ways of doing it, I feel, that would be awesome and very beneficial. And I think that's maybe how some of these concepts start, and then the publishers and whatever themselves get in their own way.
No, I agree.
Over monetize it and ruin it.
And it's funny because you look into, let's just go back to Marvel Avengers, and people say, well, what was the systemic cause of its failure? And I'm like, okay, it's not the gameplay that made it fail, and it's not the story of the campaign, because the campaign everyone loved. It was great. It was fun. I loved it. And it's not the overarching, like, even with the leveling and all the other stuff. It's the fact that you took, even in the beginning, when you had 5 characters, and you have a lot more now, whole fucking title screen's filled up now, but it's like, you cannot be like, we're going to allow you, we're going to give those 5 characters each have their own battle pass. You got to pay 1,000 of in-game currency that you have to buy, that you cannot earn, and that's $5 to unlock that battle pass, to start leveling them up, to get the benefits of the battle pass. You can level them up, but you don't get shit for them, right? You got to buy that 5 times, so that's $25, and then it's like, and we're going to have not 1, but 4 different currencies, and you're sitting there going like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, why? Like, why couldn't you do, if you're going to do one singular battle, you knew. And so when the grind got weird, and then they did the weird update where they're like, okay, well, after level 25, you're going to earn experience like slower. And they had that weird cockamamie thing, and I was like, about why they were doing it. And I was like, what the fuck with this game again? I just didn't want to play it. I'm like, I'm not doing it. And then you get into like Babylon's Fall, and you're like, how much of it was Platinum that wanted to do it? How much of it was it Square that monetized it? And you think, goddamn, Babylon's Fall had a battle pass and then a separate other premium battle pass. 2 battle passes, right? And everything you had to buy, and it was like, fuck, really? And it's like
that stuff doesn't help the situation, right? But I'll tell you, with Avengers,
not when it came out for $60. Yeah,
for me.
Yeah.
That's not even the part that got me over Avengers in the first place. Like, that's icing on the cake, right?
Yeah.
And often games really fuck themselves over in that way. But the big reason why I think it doesn't work is because, the gaming industry and game releases are at a lightning speed, right?
True.
And this is very evident just if you buy games regular and you look at your backlog, right?
Yeah.
There's games that I want to play that I haven't got around to yet that I've had for years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, true.
And new stuff just keeps coming. So you release a game like The Avengers, right?
Yeah.
That takes years to make. Of course, internet and community being what it is, a couple days, people's done with it. They've maxed that shit out. If you don't have constant, like, a good workflow and constant, like, release schedule for new content, it's going to die out for that reason alone.
Oh, yeah. And that was the problem with that game. That was a huge problem with that game.
Yeah, and, like, there's like, Fortnite can churn it out because half the time they're doing skins.
Yeah.
Right? And then they do, like, their however often, like, kind of map reboot that they do. And
they do seasons, yeah.
And stuff like that. Street Fighter is a little bit different example because they balance all to hell with every time they introduce a new character. So, like,
yeah.
It's a little more work. But you're just building a new character, adding it into the mix, making adjustments, right?
Yes.
It just, I think if you're going to do it, you have to, for one, not be greedy and find a system that doesn't feel like you're trying to take advantage. Whether
it's true.
I think in theory a battle pass system is cool. I like the incentive of, I like the fact that most of these battle passes you can buy it, and if you play enough, you'll earn enough money to buy the next one, and you don't have to keep investing every time. I think that's cool. It gives you incentive to play for however long, and you constantly kind of unlock stuff, and then it's refreshed by the time you've done that. So,
yeah,
the longer you're playing, the longer you're getting rewarded. There's constant stuff to earn and to unlock, and I think that's awesome for the player.
Yeah.
But, you have to be able to turn out content at a steady rate to keep up with the player base, and that's why I think a lot of these companies fail, because they fail to realize the fact that people don't play games to play them anymore. They play them to conquer them.
Yeah. Well, that too, and you got different kinds of gaming types. You got people who are like, well, I can only devote X time, right? And it's like, well, I don't have time to devote like 40 hours a week to this game because I just can't, right?
And that's me. I can't do 5 battle passes for games all at once. Like,
it's like, forget that, yeah. And the thing is, too, like with like it going back to the Avengers, for example, it was like, it's a shame because like the content there was mainly because they announced like we're going to do these heroes, and I'm like, okay, well, great, and okay, so you give me Hawkeye. Fantastic, right? Great, I get a Hawkeye now. I get Clint Barton. And then you give me other Hawkeye. You give me the girl Hawkeye. You get Kate Bishop. I'm like, they were so similar in their gameplay. They're slightly different. Like when you start adding the skills, I'm like, and then you turn around and you go, okay. Then you do the Wakanda expansion, which was awesome. Like the story for Wakanda was great. Black Panther is fun to play as. You had Spider-Man, and that was good. I was like, and I love playing as Spider-Man in the game. They did a good job on that, even though like his story stuff is different from the campaigns. It's still really neat that he's in the game, and I welcome that. And that was an exclusive and stayed exclusive to Sony, and that's interesting. They never just brought it to anything else. But then, as you keep talking about bringing more content out, and you're mentioning heroes, you do Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange, and then you bring like Jane Foster Thor, who kind of plays very similar to Thor, who's in the game. She's slightly different, but I was like, you just basically made another Thor. Why? Right?
Yeah, all these
and then the last character you add right before you announce that you're done was Winter Soldier, which is, again, a nice addition, because I technically now in the game have pretty much the staple Avengers from the movie. You know, I have Thor, I have this. Jane Foster became Thor in the new movie, Love and Thunder, but it's like, it's interesting that I have these characters, and the potential for that game was awesome. But then I go, you know what? And again, earlier I sang its praise because I love it on PS5. I love it, but it's like,
it's a great game still.
It is, but it's interesting because, yeah, I can turn around though, and be like, you know what? Just for shits and gigs, I was on a hero kick there for a while, a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, I'm going to play Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I haven't played that in a long time, the first one. So I'm playing it, and I'm like, you see, now this is what people really just wanted. You know, just play heroes and a bunch of different ones and different combinations, and that game, I can't believe, as old as it is, it still stands up. It's still a great game. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to get out my Switch. I'm going to play Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. And I was like, you know what? This is still like, this is such a good game.
It's too
different, yes, but it's like, I started realizing, and then going back to Gotham Knights, it's like, this is what people just really wanted. Just playing as the heroes and leveling up and some skill trees, and they just didn't need all that other convoluted shit in the game. In the Avengers game. They didn't need to make it live service, because it's interesting that Square Enix also published Guardians of the Galaxy, which is none of that. And that game is great, right? And it's like, that game, like, people love that game. It got great reviews. I got to play it. It's fantastic. I'm like, see, this is what Marvel Avengers should have been like. I played Gotham Knights. See, this is what Marvel Avengers should have been like. And it's sad because...
on Steam, by the way, real quick, I seen for sale, and I just forgot all about, was that Freedom Force from back in the day. It was on sale
that's
on
a
Steam
great,
for like $1.
That's such a great game. I love that game. I had it on GameCube. That was a great game. I like that game. We used to do the skins, and that was fun. But you know what's interesting is I just find myself, like I said, when you're discussing the live service element, and the idea is, we're going to give you a game. We're going to give you the minimum viable product, MVP. It's going to have the basics for the game. We will continuously add content over time. But, you know, it takes a lot to do all of that. It takes a lot, and it takes money, and it takes time. And it's all well and good for a company to make a live service game and create a roadmap and show you 6 months from now, this is what's going to be in the game, or 8 months or a year from now. But
they're going to be far removed.
Yeah. If
like,
you
got
got
6 months timeline, people are going to be done by like 4 months.
Yeah, or less. Yeah, and you think about it. You think like, okay, well, now there's nothing new. I got to wait to go back, and then I go back to it, and I get through that content, which may only be a few hours of content.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, now I'm done again. And the issue with that is, a game like for live service to succeed, it almost has to be like, okay, we made the game, but while we were making the game, we were also making some of the content. So next month, this is new content. And next month after that,
but
this is the other content.
For holding back from the full release.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't win. Yeah, you can't win, and that goes back to what you were saying earlier, and what we were talking about earlier about the overall gaming community, basically being like, nobody is fucking happy with anything. It seems like anymore. Every game it's very, very, very small, minute amount of games that people go like, fucking love it.
Yeah.
No one bitches. No one bitches. Like God of War Ragnarok came out, and I don't know if I told you, I finally got my copy.
You did
But
tell me,
yeah, and that was insane, by the way. And I'm gonna have to talk about that because fuck Sony and the way they were treating it. But the thing is that was one of the games that was like everyone was like, greatest game, it's the greatest game of all time. You know, so it was like, okay, great. You know, everyone loved it. There was nothing to be said bad about it. I've watched a ton of videos on it, and then I own it now. I haven't downloaded it. You know, my hard drive space is limited, but I love the 2018 God of War, and it's like, and that was fantastic. I went all the way through it recently because because I was like, I just want to play God of War, and then I got the PS5, so that was great. But the whole thing is that there's so many, very few games. It's so few and far between. Like you were saying earlier, they just shit on it, and that becomes the trend, and then everybody hates it, and then they review bomb it, and you go, and then you make the judgment for yourself, right? Now, I am a big believer, it is okay if I really like a game, but I can also show it criticism. And I look at it like, people are like, well, if you really love it, why are you criticizing it? Because I want the game to be even better, right?
Yeah.
Than it is.
I mean, there's always things to complain about.
Yeah, there always is. You know. There's always stuff. But here's the point. It's gotten so bad going back, we're going right back around where we're at the beginning, but it's okay because it kind of all falls into place. It's bad because it's like that expectation is there, and then they don't get it, and instead of just accepting the game at face value or whatever it is and saying, hey, you know, there are people right now, and you have already said in so many words, you know, Hogwarts Legacy, it's a great game, you know, go get it, it's fantastic. They do all this stuff, there's a lot involved, a big world, stuff to explore, and there are people who are like, I don't like J.K. Rowling's point of view on her politics. Fuck that game. I'm like, I'm like, wait a minute. She had nothing to do with the game. Nothing. She might get some royalties from it, maybe, but she had nothing. Why?
There's sites out there that track if you've streamed the game or not. By the way, like they'll, you know, like a site you could go to check to see if your YouTuber has streamed the game.
Yeah.
So you can decide if you hate him, I guess.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, why? Let's ask this question, and I'll get your point of view. There's always been people, you know, trolls and haters and whatnot. But why do you think in the last 3-4 years, maybe 5, you know, that it's turned into that now? It's like, why are people so, like, held outside of just, I expect this, but like, why do you think it's been that way, that people just can't buy the game, play it, like some things of it, don't like it, but it's like, there's no happy medium. It's just immediate, this game sucks, everything about it is shit, and even though it might be one or two things they don't like, but they just completely dog it. And I don't know if it's like, it's almost like it personally offended them. You know, so it don't make any sense.
Yeah, for an answer to that, when you're talking, there's a little bit of like, I don't know, it's not really static. It's a little bit of static sound on your voice. Are you using, you got a headset or a mic, or what's your?
I had a headset with a mic, you know, it's the one I've been using forever. So
I wonder if it's just it only started doing it a little bit. Maybe it's like an internet thing.
Could be.
It's not overly obnoxious or anything, but you just kind of hear it in the background when you talk a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know the real answer. I mean, I think if I blamed it on anything, it would really be just the increasing rise of social media over the years and like the development of mob mentality.
Yeah.
And then the monetization of YouTube and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, with the combination of those, you're essentially turning every thought and every piece of content you create to be rewarded like it's a commercial or something of monetary value, right?
Okay. Okay.
So then it gets very clickbaity and like headliney. Everybody thinks they're a genius. Everybody wants to be quick-witted and snarky and like have the last word, and like then when you make your videos, you can see as evident with like the crazy thumbnails and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all about like everybody is a tabloid all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. True.
and it just because like, because I mean, you hear that like that noise is always so loud, right? So
Hmm.
Gotham Knights comes out, you hear somebody shitting on it, right? So you want to learn more about it. So like you'll Google or you'll look up, like you'll start looking at that stuff. Like, okay, why are they saying it's shit all of a sudden? Like,
Yeah.
or before it comes out or whatever. So then that's what draws the views and stuff, right? Is
Hmm.
because people are looking for this content because they want to hear more. And then there's also just the whole like, I think because all of this new temporary profession of being an influencer and content creator is all of a sudden a real thing.
Yes.
Um, it's it's centered around a younger generation also. So like so much of it reminds me of just like public school behavior, right? So it becomes a thing to like rag on this person for their shitty clothes or this
Uh.
person for being fat or whatever, right?
Hmm.
So, you know, it becomes a thing, a cool, like to talk about how shitty Gotham Knights is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it just, I think all of those elements, I think to me is what feeds that. And maybe I'm wrong in talking about, but it just seems, because I've watched. I mean, we've been around for a long time. Like I've watched this stuff develop over the years. I've watched all these forms of media be created. I've watched the evolution of the gaming industry, the people that play them, the people that talk about them, the fake journalism that's out there. Just the whole birth of this content creator thing, and it just seems to like be like a feeding, like like I say, all
Yeah.
these elements just feeding each other. I think that's the answer to that question, and why things are taking a nosedive into just
It's
nothing.
interesting because let's just going into wrestling. Eric Bischoff, many years ago, and he still stands by this. Said controversy creates cash, right? And
Yeah,
I think you know if everyone was just like, hey, this is great, this is a great game, whatever. People, you know, they like that. Like they want to hear that the game's good, but it's more interesting from the drama side of thing, right? It's like you watch like you're talking about reality shows, right? It's interesting to watch a reality show, but if everybody got along all the time, right, it'd be
it'd be
boring.
boring.
So
Yeah,
you want to watch the guy go like yeah, and they get into it, and it's more interesting to see that because you're like, oh shit, that guy just he just lost his mind or she's freaking out, and swinging. That it's like
yeah,
Jerry Springer mentality, right? It's like why we gotta watch the fights, we gotta watch the insanity, crazy. Like, oh my god, that is probably where part of that is the same. It's the same thing, in social media. It's the idea that it's funny because you know, everyone has their own taste in games. And I think there's a percentage of people out there that are like, I'll buy what everybody else is buying, right? So I can jump on that bandwagon. Then you got people who just like particular titles or certain types of games, and vice versa. I give about everything a fair shake. My library is extensive with every type of genre imaginable. I There are certain things that I don't naturally gravitate towards because there are certain things that I do naturally gravitate towards. Like superhero stuff, I love. I love space stuff, all about it, right? So certain games I'm like kind of into into more than others. But if something looks interesting, I'll either buy it or find a demo or give it a shot. And the thing is that I've been able to, for the longest time, right? Like, been able to just to find things about a game and overlook things. It has to be really egregious for me to be like, fuck this game, right? But most of the time, I can find things that I really like about it, and I just kind of focus on what I like about it and not try to so much focus on the negative aspects of the game. I can recognize them and say, yeah, but if the pros outweigh the cons, then I'm going to focus on the pros. And it's funny because me and you both absolutely love Earth Defense Force, and for all intents and purposes, it's a shit game. It should be,
Yeah,
right? I mean, it's a game that everybody should
it
be
is
like.
great, but it's not. Yeah,
It's not supposed to be like, but it's so weird. It's almost like people and everyone seems to love that game. No one shits on the game, and you're like,
yeah.
it has all the, like, any other game, if that came out from like Ubisoft, people would be like, this game is fucking horrible. The shooting, it's not,
Yeah.
what the fuck, what the fuck this game is. But that game, everybody's like, oh no, it's supposed to be bad, so it's fine.
It would be a great live service game, by the way.
Yeah, it would be. It'd be fantastic.
That would be an example that would it would really work.
Yeah,
It would be great.
because
You play all the games and they're pretty much the same, really. Like,
Yeah.
they don't change
I mean-
that much.
I mean, Iron Rain is tonally different, and its gameplay is slightly different, but it's more or less the same. And I find it interesting, like that series, and that's another one of those games. It's like, they put out new Earth Defense Force, I buy it. I don't even look up shit on it. I'm just getting it because it's going to be fucking great, right? So I bought World Brothers the day it came out. I was like, I gotta buy it. It's a pixelated looking,
Yeah.
but it's still Earth Defense Force, and that game is fun. That game is so much fun, and it's like it's another one of those examples that it's so strange to see the community be like, we're going to rally around Earth Defense Force, even though technically it's shit. It's like, but that's okay because we know it's supposed to be campy and supposed to be low grade and it's supposed to be, but then you get like another game, like with Gotham Knights, and it's 30 frames. Well, fuck that game. The whole game is shit. Like, what do you mean? It's over the frame rate? Really? Because it doesn't have the Arkham countering system? Really?
I'll tell you something that I start doing now.
Extreme.
And so, I'm kind of picky. I check out most of the big blockbuster games. I really enjoy like the independent stuff, things that are different. Something that I haven't felt like I've played for the past 40 years,
Yeah.
30 plus years, whatever. But what I've started kind of doing now, I'll give you an example. So, a bunch of stuff came out. I got Midnight Suns, Marvel Midnight Suns.
Yeah, the one that's made by the people who made XCOM as Fire Axis or whoever, people who work for them or something. Yeah.
And I don't know, like it was like in a blink of an eye, it's gone. Like nobody cares about it anymore. I was saying,
You don't hear nothing about it.
Like, it's actually pretty good. And then like that's it. That's all you heard about.
You never
like
hear shit about that. Yeah.
And maybe I think just the release timing of it was off because that's what got me. But so I got it, and I was like, I try to stay vigilant on like just playing very few games at a time. So I give them enough time and move through them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it was around like when Ragnarok came out, like Gotham, like those, because that's about what I can think of timeline wise. But I wanted to check it out still because like I had got it with like Amazon credit so it just came in the mail.
Yeah.
And I wanted to check it out. It looked cool, and I've been hearing good things. So I put it in, and I played it for like a couple days. A few hours at a time, and I was like, okay, this is really cool. And then I had stopped and played something else for a little bit or something, and then I like came back to it, and I was like, okay, I'm not really enjoying this right now.
Yeah.
So instead of forcing myself to play it though, or really complain about it, like I just stopped, and I'm like, okay, I'll come back to this when I feel like I'm in the right mental space for it. And I found like there's so many games like that, like you know, if you don't let release dates and backlogs and like peer pressure and stuff to kind of rule your decision making, like a lot of times it's just like you're just not quite in the headspace or ready
Mm-hmm.
for that game at this time. Like,
Mm-hmm. That makes
you
sense.
know, uh, obviously, if you've already bought it or whatever, don't buy it if you're not ready to play it or something. But like
Yeah.
in my case, I have a lot of stuff come my way, and it's like, like anymore to me, there's nothing wrong. Just I'm just gonna shelve it for now. I did find enjoyment when I first started playing it, so like I'm just something happened. I'm just not in the headspace for it. So I'll come back to it and hopefully I'll enjoy it. But um, for the most part, it's a pretty cool title. When I played, one thing that I do not like about it though is so it's that XCOM like style of battle, which is actually pretty cool.
Tactical RPG. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine, and it uses cards and stuff for like the battle system, and that's fine. A lot of people get turned off by that. I think it's just fine. It's pretty cool how
Yeah.
it's implemented. One thing I don't like though is you have your play area and there's enemies there. Um, I swear it seems like every freaking round reinforcements run in, and it's
Yeah.
like you kill these guys, you beat these guys, whatever. The round ends. Oh, here's backup. You kill them, you take out a few more of them. That round, oh, here's more backup. And I swear there was one battle. There was like 10 waves of backup people coming, and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm just over this battle. Like
So
it does
you
not
get
need to be like
you
that.
see, and the funny thing about that is those kind of games. Like I have XCOM 2, and you make your own, and it's great because you have your characters, but then you can make your own recruits, right? And you can
Uh huh.
name them and write backgrounds for them. I made like Nick Fury and a bunch, and it's like, and they die. If they die, they die permanently. They're gone. And um, I have different ones that are like that. I have like Hard West and this, strategy tactical RPG. I bought one recently called Element Space. I've been wanting it for a while. It was really cheap, and it does something similar to that. And XCOM kind of does stuff like that. And that's just the indicative of the genre. I mean, it might
Yeah.
there's less egregious games that do it, but the thing with that is it's like, okay, well, if we do like you kill the four bad guys and we do another round of reinforcements and then you win, you're like, okay, well, the gameplay lasted all of less than 10 minutes, and it could be a way for them paddling the game. It could be, well, we don't want you to jump into battle. Okay, battle start. Battle's over. Game, you won. Okay, next. Like
Yeah.
that's a genre that doesn't always do that right. Element Space, I've been
And I think
playing
it's kind
through.
of, I mean, it's kind of cool, and I don't mind like reinforcements showing up, but I don't
Yeah.
want it like 20 times, or I
Yeah,
don't,
it's a
there's
bit
times where
much.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, come on, and like some of these maps or like battle zones you put you in, there's already like 6 or 7 bad guys and a boss or something there,
Yeah.
and like and they do cool things like there's like some environmental stuff around there that you can interact with. You can
Uh-huh.
knock them back into things. You can do that kind of stuff. So, I feel like they could half those battles, if not, you know, like a quarter of the battle length inside, and it would be
Yeah.
just fine. Um, but like because the cutscenes and stuff are pretty good, except for the weird intro. I swear, you remember back like for the original Xbox and like GameCube days, they would have like the pre-rendered intros, but it would be like really low quality and like
Yeah.
letterboxed and stuff, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
even take
Yeah.
up the full. It has an intro like that on the PS5.
That's strange for being a
Yeah,
new modern game. Yeah, for being a
and then
modern.
like you
Yeah.
get into it though, and it's like high res and full screen and just fine. But like the open, like, it
Hmm.
was really weird. I'm like, this is weird. Um, But it's
Yeah.
it's cool because it plays like those games. It's on Marvel characters and
Yeah.
a lot of stuff like that, and it has like a hub area
Yeah.
which is pretty cool, and they do a lot of storyline stuff. But
See,
it's
and
a weird,
yeah.
interesting title. I need to spend more time playing it to have a full like opinion on it.
See, and tactical RPGs, like they're not my go-to or my staple game, but sometimes I'm in the mood for them, and I like to see the ones that are like just generally different. Um, I actually have I like the XCOM series. I have on 360 a Falling Skies based off that TV show that is basically an XCOM ripoff, and it's a lot of fun. That Element Space that I just bought is interesting because it deals with like political intrigue, and you talk to people on your ship, and then like you go to three different solar systems, and like you can recruit more people that way. And they try to Mass Effect it a little bit, and then you get into combat, and then the combat's again classic kind of XCOM. I move my character and try to position, but they did this weird. What makes it stand out is you can like get to next to character and click a button and go melee lock, and your character's just melee instead of shooting at each other, which is typical. You actually fight, and when you're melee locked, other enemies you're like 50% harder to hit to keep you locked in the melee, so people just ain't wailing on you. But that game is a lot of fun, and it's another one thing. I played it for like 2-3 days, and then I just kind of was like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this tactical stuff. Sometimes I'm I like the hands-on stuff, and that's probably because a lot of the Warhammer games are like tactical RPGs, and some of those equal or less, like I said, kind of suffer from the same thing. It's like, God bless, I just killed fucking 10 guys, and fucking 10 more show up. Both my characters are hurt, doomed, can't heal no more. What the fuck, right? So
Yeah.
it's the idea of, strategy, and you gotta think and move like chess pieces. I'm like, no, this game is just stacking the deck against me at this point. Like, fuck you, right? So then it's like, now I'm just changing the difficulty down to easy, so it's a lot easier for me to survive. And they're not all created equally, but that's a game genre that I like, but I gotta be in like the mood for, like you said. And no,
Yeah,
I
and that's
just
the thing,
yeah.
because I liked XCOM back in the day, and this really, it's a Marvel game, so I would give it a whirl and see.
Yeah,
And I'm not
most
saying it's
superhero
bad
games.
at
Yeah.
all. It just, it's very much that style,
Mm-hmm.
and that was kind of my one annoyance. Is I was like, oh man, more reinforcements. I'm ready for this battle to be over.
Yeah, I'm done with this
Um,
shit. Yeah,
and then I was like, okay, I just need to just not play this for now, and move on to something, and I'll come back to it when I'm
and
not
sometimes
gonna try to pick it
yeah,
apart, right?
and sometimes it's like that. It's like I was saying earlier how I was playing No Man's Sky a lot this last couple weeks, and that's a game that I play for like a period of time, and then I'll stop playing and I'll come back to it. And the reason being is like because the nature of the game now and everything you can do in it. You could be like, man, I just played the game for 8 hours, and I don't know if I actually accomplished anything or not because it's
Yeah.
so big, it's so vast, it's a giant spacing MMO now. Even though it's got the single player stuff, it's like, oh, damn, I built part of my base, and then I had to go here, and I did this, and I did these quests, and went over here, and then you go like, I spent all this time, and because of the vastness of the world, I'm like, did I really do anything at all? Like, really? So, um, and that's one of those games that I absolutely love because of my options are basically limitless. And it's like, but it's another one of those, like, I got to play for a while and then take a break from because it's like, it's almost too much. And I think, it's interesting because, talking about the different mindsets with gaming, and we kind of talked a lot about the giant community as a large just being a big cesspool of hate on everything and nothing's good anymore, and then you got those that the super small percentage that just recognize games for what they are. And talking about the failures of live service, it just goes to show you overall in the grand scheme everyone is different in what they like, and there's a lot of genres out there now. And I think some of it, I sometimes refer to it as gaming fatigue. It's like, it's hard to find something that we haven't really honestly been playing, right? So it's like, I'm going to buy this game, it looks cool, and you start playing it, and you're having fun with it for a little bit, and you go, well, then after time, you're like, I've played a dozen other games like this in the past X time, and you go like, I get, I look at it sometimes. It is hard. I mean, I'll go browse the store, and I can watch videos and be like, that looks cool, but you know what? I've kind of already played something like that, or I've already kind of done this
a bunch of
before,
times.
and you're like, so do I really want to drop money on something that after I get past a certain point or an hour or two, I'm going to be like, um, it's interesting because then I start realizing, what am I always going back to? And I'm like, yeah, you're always going back to No Man's Sky. You're always going back to Elite. You're always going back to Monster Hunter. I fucking love Monster Hunter. It's never really gotten old. Um, it's one of those things where the games that I really like the most, my Warhammer games. I love playing them because they're all different. They're all just things about them, and it's like I'm always kind of going back to my staple games because it's just I know what I'm getting into when I play those. I know I'm gonna like what I'm playing. So it is hard to find uniqueness anymore because you've been doing it for years. I've been doing it for years. It's like we've played fucking everything that we can
Yeah.
play, right? I mean, how many, oh, this is a cool new survival horror. Well, it's either going to be kind of play like Resident Evil or it's going to play like a first person this or it's going to play like we've played everything there is to play, right? There's only so much.
And sometimes it's like, oh, I haven't seen a game like that in 15 years. To
Yeah.
me, it's new for a lot of people, but it's like, well, this is like this old game.
Like the old school meets modern shooter you were talking about the protocol game. It's like that's cool because you don't see that, right? And
Yeah.
that makes it fresh and new again.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like that stuff. And I don't know, there is so many games out there. I hate the whole trash and bandwagon we get on. So I really just would like if you don't like it, there's 50 other games that came out that same day. So
Yeah.
you
It's
just
like
keep looking and
yeah,
find something you do like.
yeah. And I think some of it
Um,
too is like when you were talking about the Steam Deck and the Madden thing. Like it's like okay, people would give Madden more of a pass on whatever issues they're having with it if the game was $20, right?
yeah,
They just would because it'd be like, well, yeah, but it's only $20. Sometimes price point can dictate a lot of that too, and I've noticed that it's like, you know, uh, so it's like you're willing to give something a little bit more leeway when it costs less, right? And
yeah.
and I know that's always been a thing, and I don't know,
So speaking
it's
of that kind of
yeah.
stuff, so another kind of distraction type of game that I checked out was Police Simulator.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff on that. I've watched like some
Yeah.
YouTube stuff on it, and it's something that I would like to play only because some guy got on there, and I thought the video was so funny. He was like, "I'm gonna call this tow truck in and have this guy's car towed," and he was like, "I wonder how many times you can do it." And next thing you know, he had like 10 of them behind him, like just
Yeah,
towing
yeah.
everybody's car, and it was
Um,
funny. It was
I think
really
I know that
hilarious.
guy. I forget the name of it, but he
Yeah.
does like these really funny videos, and he's done like a lot of those games like that, and plays them in a way they're not funny.
It
It's
was
so
it was it
hilarious.
was it was great.
But
I was rolling. I was like, that's what you
yeah,
want to do.
so Police Simulator, it's cool. It's, I mean, it's not worth a lot of money, and it's good
Yeah.
for like a couple days of distraction, and then like maybe hop in every now and again.
Yeah.
Um, it's not like some super superb thing though, but it does some really cool stuff. And you can't just go and be like a bad cop, like because there are
Yeah, I've seen that.
rules and like restrictions on what you can do, but you can still be an asshole at the same time. Like, it's pretty fun because it doesn't take long to really kind of get your um, repertoire like pretty vast, where you do lots of different things. Um, but it's pretty cool because you can like set like how long you want to do your shifts, and then you go out and like um, you can't just like shoot people and stuff like that because you'll get fired, and you immediately
Yeah.
like kind of ends and stuff like that. But like you can you can still do like kind of inappropriate actions as far as filing people or stuff, or arresting people that don't deserve it or stuff like that. You just kind of get like a mark against you in a way.
Yeah, I
But
saw that there was.
you
Yeah,
can
there.
also just like play, like in a jerk way too. Like see somebody, um, like they littered or something, right?
Yeah.
So like you could go talk to them, look at their ID or whatever. Sometimes they'll be like expired or something like that, and you can be like, okay, I'll give you a warning for your littering,
Yeah.
and then like, okay, but I'm gonna take you to jail for having it expired, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like there's times where it'll be like, okay, I'm gonna give you a ticket for this traffic accident, for like your expired license, and then I'm going to give you a ticket for no insurance, and then I'm going to give you a ticket for this, and then I'm going to give you this. Oh, and then by the way, I'm taking you to jail because
Yeah. Yeah, like 6
and it's
tickets and
like,
in jail. Yeah, that's great. That's
yeah.
great.
So I like doing stuff like that, and sometimes there's some really really funny stuff that happens, like, or that you can make happen. Like I was driving because I got a patrol car,
Yeah.
and it's on. I think it's on one of my streams. I did it, but I was driving and I hit a car
Yeah.
because I was driving reckless. So I
Yeah.
pull
Yeah.
over, and they like, because you can talk to them and you can like, if that happens, I think you can apologize and then like give them a report or something of the accident.
Yeah.
So I hit them and they got out. Um, and I forget exactly what happened, but like they start kind of walking around at that point. So I stopped talking to him kind of in that cycle of options, I guess.
Uh huh.
And they went to walk away. So then I talked to him again, and then I took their ID, and like I think they was like it was something up with that. I forget, but I ended up like towing their car and like taking them to jail
After you hit
and giving
them.
them all these tickets because I hit their car.
That's great.
And then just drove off. Like
You know,
it's funny. Some of the stuff you
stuff
can
like
do.
stuff like that is funny because I don't. It's one of those. We did this and we didn't really intend for the game to be played that way, but the options there. And
Yeah.
it's very similar to. They recently gave away on PS Plus. You probably saw it. You probably already owned it, but I finally got. It was the Mass Effect trilogy, right? And I was like, I was playing the first one, which is probably the most improved of all three, and I'm going like, you know what? I absolutely. Desiree's kind of watching some of it or listening in, and I got to that scene where it's all like, you're an asshole to Conrad. Oh, the great Commander Shepard's too good. And I was like, and she's like, oh my God, laughing. I said, that's what makes Mass Effect so good, because you could just be a complete dick. Right? And it's like, that's what, even though the choices are very black or white, right? Like good or, but
Yeah.
that's what made it so good, and it got better as the games go on. I said, it's so funny you talk to the one reporter, you knock her ass out, and she shows up in the other two games, and you fucking can knock her out and knock her out again. I was like, and she, oh no, and you end up fighting her in one of them, and you end up, I was like, and stuff like that, and it's in Cop Simulator, even though it's probably done differently, that is stuff that needs to be in more games. Just that ability, because it really,
does some really funny stuff because you can do like violations, you can do warnings or whatever. You can, you can handcuff people, but you can also like handcuff them and then like not send them to jail and stuff. So like, and like certain things don't exactly count against you too much or count against you right away. And like there was a big accident that I went to investigate, and like you do like kind of police things, like you take pictures of everything, you interview everybody, take out everybody's ID, you try to come to a resolution that for the case or whatever.
Yes.
And there was like one big accident I had, and like some witness stuck around to give me their version of what they saw, and I end up like sending everybody to jail. Like,
Everybody's
and I
got to
don't
go to
even
jail.
think, and like sometimes, like, because you can get so many points against you before they call your shift to be over, really. So
Yeah.
like, I don't really care about whatever. So like, I don't think she did anything wrong. I just sent her to jail anyway, and just took the hit because it was funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so like, she was the good Samaritan and stuck around because she seen this accident,
And she goes
and
to
I
jail.
and I like give her a ticket for like made up stuff, handcuff her, and then take her to jail,
That's great.
and then solve the accident stuff too. But it's pretty cool. You get like a radar gun and stuff too. Um, you just throw out flares and direct traffic, and like that stuff you can just do for no
Yeah.
reason.
It looks fun, and I would
Yeah,
like to get it
and it's co-op
eventually.
too, by the way.
Oh, that's cool. I saw that on the videos, and I just looked like a game. I was like, yeah, that's a game that I could just have fun with. A good distraction, like you said, and it's good to have games like that where it's not something you're going to be playing like indefinitely or anything, but it's fun to kind of jump in and see what kind of mayhem and things you can cause. I love games like that. I like those weird. I have games
Yeah,
like that in my library where I'm like, I'm about it because it was a distraction. It was just different and fun to play.
yeah, and
Well,
this,
man,
it's nothing amazing. It's nothing, super like it's not even full price normally. But it's a cool just like thing to have fun with.
yeah, and there's a lot of those simulator games out there. There's a whole bunch, and your level of enjoyment, you get out of them. It's because sometimes those games that isn't supposed to have a lot to them, you find little things like that. And Police Simulator for sure is one that I looked at when it came out. I was like, and I watched the YouTube and people doing some funny stuff on. I was like, yeah, see, I would play that. That would be fun to do for sure.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, it is almost 2. We've been going for a while, but
Oh wow.
it's good. It's good to talk about the mentality of the gaming people we've been just kind of talking about, and we talked about Gotham. We talked about Hogwarts Legacy, what you've been playing, what I've been playing lately, and I think I would like to wrap it up if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's been great. And I said again, the table talk here, I know folks went long, and you may not want to sit and listen to it all, but you should because John here and myself, we try to bring up some points and some interesting points of view and our takes on games and stuff, and we will definitely be back for another table talk for sure. I am definitely going to do a video on Gotham Knights because now that I've got the whole thing fixed with the talking, and I want to do one on the Persistence because that's a game that originally was VR and you don't have to play it in VR anymore, and that's a legitimately sci-fi kind of horror game, and it's a great game, by the way, and I've really enjoyed it, and they do some really cool things in it, and I like it. And I've got some other stuff I want to show you that I've had in my library and play some stuff for you coming up. And I'm going to do my efforts to do that because I like to get back into doing this because I do enjoy it. And again, John, thank you so much for joining me here at the Gaming Roundtable. And again, you can check us out, the Unpaid Gamers, on YouTube.com and Twitch.com occasionally, but I think we're mostly YouTubing it lately. And also, please subscribe to Posthuman Guy with his car thoughts, which are great to listen to. If you're in your own car, listen to him, while you're going to work, because you can be there for the ride. And John talked about that and his Let's Plays. And you can check out past videos of Man Band Lost for his Apex Legends gameplay, and we also got, like I said, my past videos are up there. There's a bunch of those too, and we're going to go forward with that. And we're into March, and already in the new year, and it's going by already. I don't know where the hell January went, but it's going by quick. And again, yeah, I know, man. But yeah, John, thank you for joining us here at the Roundtable, man. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, yeah. It's good to talk about some stuff and topics at hand, things we play, things that we have played, going to play. Right now, I'm currently playing through Hogwarts. Proteus on the Steam Deck, and I'm also playing through the Room series, which is,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not familiar, it's started out as VR, but it's like
Yeah, I'm
puzzle games
familiar.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
They were on sale on Steam, like
Mm-hmm.
actually I don't think they were on sale. I think it was, but it
Mm-hmm.
was like $20 for like all four of
Yeah.
them or something. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Outside of yeah.
so
Sorry.
currently
Mm-hmm.
playing that, and I'm looking forward to a few things. I actually want to. One of my favorite games of all time is SimCity. So, the current version of that is the City Skylines. They
Yes.
recently released the remastered version with the PS5
Yes, I've
version
seen
of
that.
that.
Yeah.
So I wanna get back into that for a bit and try that out. I'll definitely be streaming some of the Diablo 4 beta, which is going to be this month,
Nice. Nice.
and yeah, I think that's on my current agenda.
Very good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably be playing some Forza Horizon and stuff too. Um, so I don't know. I may stream some of that on Twitch
Very
as I
good.
get
Very
into
good.
that.
I'm definitely going to be playing. Like I said, I want to do some Gotham Knights. I want to do the Persistence. I also want to play show all the stuff that they have done to make Elite dangerous, a lot less dangerous per se. And it's a much better game than it was at launch. And I know there's a lot of people play it, but it's more PC centric. But like, if it's done so many improvements to make the game more accessible. And I know a lot of people who tried this game was like, fuck this game. This is insane. Like, just what am I doing? And I want to show you what they've done because you're going to find it to be a much more enjoyable experience. I am going to stream some No Man's Sky because the new Fractal update is out. And although it does a lot of VR stuff, there's some new things they added also outside of that with the Fractal update. And they just keep making this game bigger and better and bigger and better. They even put a mission mode where you actually get like a Darth Vader like helmet. Like, it's cool as fuck. It has that shape, and they've just done some new additions and add-ons. And again,
Speaking of Darth Vader, next month I'll be streaming Jedi Survivor too.
nice, nice, yes. And the first game is really good too. I have the PS5 upgrade to that. I haven't downloaded yet. I'd like to get back and try to play through that and see what they've done with improvements. But yes, we both have some stuff coming up. So please subscribe to the Gaming Roundtable. Please subscribe to Posthuman Guys channel there on the Unpaid Gamers Network here. This has been first episode of the year of Table Talk episode 1 on Unpaid Gamers Live, which is what I'm calling it when we stream like this for you guys. And again, John, thank you so much for joining here and sitting down at the table and having the chat that we had, because it's always a pleasure, always enjoyable. And again, we will see you on the next episode of the Gaming Roundtable. And as always, gamers, good gaming. Crap.